We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, got some special guests with me tonight. Gil from OneTake and Jeff from PURP Minded. We're going to bring them in a little bit here, guys. So in the meantime, if you want to go ahead and queue up, whether it be your Hulu apps, your FX apps, your DVRs. Right now, mine is set like right at the MA mature audience little standards here. So I'm right at 4 seconds. So we'll probably go live around like 7, or we'll press play around 7:05, or maybe 7:10. Introduce my guests to you guys and kind of talk about the show. It has been such an incredible experience watching devs, and this last 8 weeks has been great. And I wanted to bring some 2 people in that I know has been reviewing this show and just have been enjoying the show just as much as I have. So very excited to bring them in. We're waiting for one more guest, but in the meantime, what I'll do, guys, is introduce you to one of my guests, Gil from OneTake. Him and his brothers talk about shows like Devs, Better Call Saul. You have Westworld and many other things. So I'm going to bring one of my guests, Gil, in now. Introduce you guys to Gil from OneTake.
Hello, sir. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure. If you want to kind of introduce yourself to the audience here, from my movie file audience, as far as what you guys do at OneTake, a little bit about your introduction to devs, and just the stage is yours, my friend.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you gave a great introduction. My name's Gil, and we cover right now. We're really focused on devs, Westworld, Better Call Saul. Usually I go on with my brothers, so this is going to be my first time going solo, but thankfully I've got you here to be part of the conversation. And Devs has been such an interesting show to cover because there's so much to talk about in terms of the plot, but not just that. You could take the scientific angle, the philosophical angle. And you and I were chatting earlier. One of my brothers who I do this with was a philosophy major in college. So he was the perfect person to talk to about this show. And yeah, it's been a great few weeks. It's a bummer that it's over, but I'll be watching out for whatever Alex Garland does next.
Same here, man. I mean, it was funny, and you could talk about this in a bit here in regards to how you came about devs. For me personally, it came out of left field for me, man. I think about a year ago or so, I remember they did some coverage at Comic-Con, and I heard a little bit about it, but I was kind of just doing I was in an Alex Garland mood for some reason. A couple before the show premiered, I was just kind of looking at when is his next film after Annihilation from last year. I was like, what is he getting into? And I had totally forgot that he was doing this show. So, and before I do that, go ahead and bring in my other guests. We got PURP Minded. I'm gonna bring him in the chat, guys. Hey, PURP, if you want to kind of introduce the audience to yourself, tell them a little bit about what you do on your channel and your fandom of devs, man. We'll bring you in.
This PURP. Thank you for having me. Sorry that I'm late. Last minute, I was just getting like hella background noise and stuff. I was like,
no worries, my friend.
Really? I had to kind of switch locations, but yeah, pretty much on my channel, I just talk about everything, any new shows and whatnot. I just talked about Outer Banks, new Netflix series. But about devs, it was something about that trailer that they kept teasing and stuff. Like I saw little promotions here and there. It was very simplistic and stuff, and it was really weird. And it's just one of those my type of shows. Like I like shows like that, and Westworld and The Leftovers and the stuff that just makes you think and whatnot. But that's what kind of drew me to the show and whatnot. But I'm happy to be here, and should be an interesting discussion.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm so glad you guys are able to join me. And I was telling Gil here in regards to my introduction to devs. I was just kind of doing some research on Alex Garland because I was just kind of in an Alex Garland mood from Ex Machina, Annihilation, and I had forgot that the show was coming on. So this is funny because I actually on my channel, I do like trailer reactions for movies and shows. This is the only show I can remember that I hadn't seen one trailer for the show. I was just automatically in just because Alex Garland was involved. I didn't watch any of the previews for the following week. This was a very weird show for me in regards to just I was hooked from day one. So again, if you guys just want to, Gil, if you want to kind of go into how you came about, coming across devs and your anticipation for it, and ultimately did it land anticipation?
Yeah. So like you, I was a big Alex Garland fan. I loved Ex Machina, loved Annihilation, loved Dread 3D. And if you go back to the stuff he wrote and didn't direct, 28 Days Later, one of my favorite movies of all time. Mm-hmm. And I think I might have read about devs a year or so before it came out, then totally forgot about it. And I remember I was on an elliptical in a hotel looking for something to watch. I logged into Hulu and I saw Devs. Already 2 episodes had come out. About 20 minutes into episode 1, I texted my brother and I said, dude, you've got to watch this show and we've got to talk about it tonight. I fell in love with it within minutes. And I was kind of frustrated. I was like, how did this show not get any coverage?
Yeah.
Alex Garland, sci-fi master, has this new show where he's writing and directing every episode. Nick Offerman, great cast. And it completely snuck up on me.
Same here, man. And PURP Minded, what was kind of your introduction to Devs, or were you already preparing for it, or did it kind of slip on the radar like it did for us?
It's like I was kind of saying earlier, like when I saw the first promotions for it, where you were just seeing like certain characters, and they had that little weird halo thing that they have in the show. That's all I've seen. That's all I've seen about the show. It's like, this looks interesting. I can see why I didn't get that much that much coverage, because I don't think this airs on FX. I think it airs on Hulu, if I'm not mistaken.
I couldn't tell you. I don't have cable, but yeah, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know if someone in the chat let us know if it was on FX. I just like you guys did. I just watched it through the Hulu app.
It's a really weirdly branded show because they call it FX on Hulu,
right?
But it doesn't air on FX. I googled that too. I was like, I guess it's this thing FX is doing where they're creating Hulu exclusive shows.
I did not know that. Yeah,
I know eventually American Horror Story is going to be on Hulu. Like in like 2 years or something like that. I think it's going to be exclusively on Hulu and stuff.
Oh, wow.
That's the first I heard of the whole FX on Hulu thing and whatnot. So yeah, I like this format too. Like I feel like we need more miniseries like this, just like a straightforward story.
Yeah,
we don't need this long drawn out story and stuff where we could say, oh, season 2 wasn't that great, but season 3 was amazing, and it leaves too much room for like inconsistency. So I'm starting to like all these miniseries that are starting to come out and whatnot.
Same here, man. I totally agree with you. And as you had mentioned kind of a little bit, and we'll start the live here probably about or the watch along here in about 3 minutes, guys. But yeah, as far as miniseries go, man, like one of the shows that I don't know if they consider it a miniseries or a limited series, but Watchmen. I know you guys have watched Watchmen as well, and I know that is kind of like up in the air, season 1, season 2. But I love that you talked about consistency. Alex Garland wrote, direct every episode, and I think that was huge for this show, because I mean I love shows that have different creators that bring in. I don't know if you guys watched The Mandalorian, but having all the different directors come in, putting their style to it, Taika Waititi, Rick Famuyiwa, people coming in and bringing their flavor, but the thing I love about Dev so much was it was just one consistent tone. He set the stage. He let us know what he was getting into. And I just love that aspect. Do you guys have any thoughts on Alex Garland being the writer and director of every episode? Did that help the show? Did you guys wish there were other people involved?
I love that he wrote and directed every episode. I think that's a recent trend we're seeing. I believe season 1 of True Detective may have been done in a similar way.
Yeah,
I know for sure Twin Peaks: The Return, which I was a huge fan of, David Lynch wrote and directed all 18 episodes. And then going to what you said before, the idea of doing a beginning, middle, and end, a completely closed, complete story. I really respect that. And then with Watchmen, Damon Lindelof said the same thing. This is everything I had. I put it all into this season. Down the road, if I come up with more ideas, if I think of an organic way to continue the story, I'll do a season 2. But they're not creating it with that in mind. And I think it leads, like with Devs, to a really satisfying story. So I was a big fan of it.
Right. Yeah, I like Damon Lindelof's like thinking with just series. Like that's why I like The Leftovers so much, because that's like my favorite show of all time.
Same here, man.
He just kept it really short. He kept it 3 seasons. He's like, I got a beginning, middle, and end, and that's it.
Awesome. I totally agree. Yeah, Leftovers. Gil, have you watched Leftovers, man?
I'm ashamed to say I've watched a couple of episodes.
Yeah,
it's one of those things that's on my bucket list of shows I've got to find the time to watch.
Awesome.
Yeah, you got plenty of time now. Since
that's right.
Oh yeah.
We're basically living in the leftovers right now.
Pretty much. Right. Hey guys, so we're gonna go ahead and start this watch along. It's 7:09. For all those that are at home, again, if you queue it up on your Hulu app or wherever you can find Devs, we're gonna start this off in just a little bit. In the meantime, while we kind of gear it up, we got a couple people in the chat. I'm gonna bring up some comments here. Adam S says, so he, this is your brother here. Yeah. Awesome.
That's right.
He's glad he convinced me. Yeah, there were some people that I was just like, you like on social media, like if you guys aren't watching Devs, you're missing out. This is one of the best series on TV, one of my favorite shows so far in 2020. And I'm so glad that it's starting to get a little bit of buzz. And I hope that these people that are self-quarantine are coming across this show because it's just so great, in my opinion. We got Morgan in the chat. Hey, everyone, excited to watch along. What's up, Morgan? Glad you were able to join the night. We got my guy here. What's going on, Elliot? An amazing finale. Yeah, we'll break it all down here in a bit. I'm excited to kind of break it down with you guys and talk about this finale. So we got a couple more other people, other comments here. Adam says the Halos were cool. Definitely agree. Kind of created that whole God complex when people were standing under in the crown and the angels and all that. We're gonna break it all down. I'm really excited, guys. So you know what? With that being said, we're gonna go ahead and do I don't have like a cool way to bring in like an actual clock on my channel, so we're just gonna do it old school. We're gonna on the count we're gonna do a 3 2 1 play. So if you guys are ready, we can all go ahead and press play, and we're gonna press play after 1. So 3 2 1, pressing play. Let's go. Were you guys watching like the actual previews for the following weeks, or did you guys just go in cold?
I just went in cold.
Yeah,
same here. I always avoid the next time on previews. I like to go in as unsullied as possible.
Same here. I didn't even look at. I saw the thumbnails for each episode, but I like trained my eye not to read the actual synopsis of the next week.
Yeah, I've had some major spoilers from thumbnails, so I'm not pretty skittish about those.
So tell me where you guys were at mentally. Going into these first few seconds, you see Stewart. It is kind of his voiceover. We're watching, the different. You can see here Lily kind of showing like she's separating from herself, which kind of goes into the whole simulation here. What are you guys thinking in regards to these first couple minutes here?
I got kind of like Endgame vibes, like, oh, we're in the Endgame now, like pretty much.
The red hue in that opening scene, my stomach just dropped. I went into this so afraid of what was going to happen, that just cranked up the tension to me.
Yeah, the music is amazing.
Oh, fantastic, man. We were talking about Annihilation and Ex Machina earlier. I can't think of the composer's name, but I think they go by the Insects. There's like 2 guys that do their all his scores. Fantastic this year. It like gave me chills. Some of like especially like those tribal scores they had in the season was fantastic.
I think there's a lot of parallels with the religious imagery in this show and the vocals. I mean, in episode 1, that was one of the things that struck me. Those very kind of religious sounding choral vocals that came in throughout the series. Yeah, I think that really layered on that religious vibe.
I'm going to read some of these comments too as we kind of walk into, as we see Lily, which we'll talk about the kind of the characters and favorite characters and the acting performances. But I'm a big fan of hers. I know she's been kind of like an Alex Garland, fan. She's been in all his movies, kind of in the background. So I was glad she was able to kind of get a starring role in his show.
She was a prominent part of one of my favorite scenes in Ex Machina when her and Oscar Isaacs break into that spontaneous dance sequence.
One of the best scenes of this decade.
Unsettling and hilarious at the same time.
Hey, PURP, what did you think about Lily's performance this season, man? Were you pretty happy with her performance and kind of her storylines?
Yeah, it's a very different type of tone. I can understand why certain people wouldn't be a fan of it. They don't feel like she has the charisma, but maybe that's on purpose. Just because like a lot of the characters are like that besides like Stewart. Which I mean I'll get into that when we get there.
For sure.
Because I find that to be interesting.
Yeah, I know for some of the people in my reviews week to week there were some people that weren't on board with Lily's performance. Me personally, I took it as, obviously she's going through some pretty crazy stuff in her life. So she's kind of just at loss of words, and kind of her actions are just kind of explainable for me in regards to how she's kind of handling everything that's going on with her. So we got quantum science is the future. I know Gil and Adam, I know you guys do dive deep into the kind of the scientific aspect of this show. What do you think about that comment here? Quantum computing is the future.
That's something I probably have to Google to understand more about. Let me look to my brother over here. Adam, quantum computing, is it the future?
For some things.
for some things,
some
he says.
things.
So
What do you think about the quantum future, man? What do you think about this?
okay.
I think it all fascinates me, like technology, like
Yeah.
transhumanism and all that stuff. Like that's a very uh realistic thing that's going on right now
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. And it's fascinating what like these tech companies are capable of. Like
Yeah.
how well, I'll get into it when we get there. But
For sure.
I do think it's pretty inevitable that at some point someone is going to try and create a simulation like the one we see in this show. I know some tech guys like Elon Musk believe it's pretty likely we live in a simulation. I don't know if I subscribe to that theory yet, but I'm sure somebody at some point is going to try to build one.
Oh,
like
yeah, totally agree.
like Westworld.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, amazing the parallels in the common themes between Westworld and Devs this season. It came up in every one of our reviews week to week. It feels like you're watching the same show sometimes.
Hot take. I have yet to watch more than 3 episodes of Westworld. I watched the first season and just fascinated by the show, but I just fell off. It's one of those shows.
Movie Files. What are you doing?
Better Call Saul, man. I love Breaking Bad. It's probably my favorite show of all time. But same with Better Call Saul. I watched like the first season, and I just don't know why I haven't watched the second, the third. I'm behind on that. I got to catch up with those.
Yeah.
This scene right here, guys, we can talk about it now. This scene here was just so, number one, Nick Offerman, as we all kind of has been killing it. I hope he gets some kind of attention when it comes to Emmys next year. But this conversation here, in regards to just the bluntness of it all and the whole conversation, the back and forth of, being a simulation and Lily even saying she doesn't even know what she's saying. She doesn't even know how she's here. I just love this scene.
It also gives you a window into the psychology of somebody that's so bought into the idea of determinism. He's going through all the motions, but he says here, I'm saying what I feel like I want to say. He's getting at the illusion of free will, but what he feels like saying happens to be everything that played out word for word on the screen. I find that so fascinating.
Definitely.
Yeah.
One thing I love too about this season, going back to the consistency of Alex Garland, this show just felt so cinematic to me. We're all at home, can't go to the theater, but every episode just felt so kind of isolated, like a little short film or hour film. It was just so beautifully shot. And again, we talked about the score, but just so fascinated by just everything that the show had to deliver on a technical level.
Even with what they chose to show us on the Devs device, none of what they showed us required a big budget, have somebody on a cross or have some people dressed up as cavemen. But they did such a good job of convincing you that you were actually taking a peek into history. So it doesn't require a big budget, but gives you the awe-inspiring cinematic feel.
Oh, yeah. A couple more comments here. We're talking about, it's on FX on Hulu. It's both, it isn't. Let's see here. I thought the show would have been about Lily's working. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Joe says he thought that the show would have been about Lily working at Devs, which is really, really interesting that the first half of the season really kind of focused on kind of almost a thriller, murder mystery. And then we kind of transition after episode 3 and 4 more into the whole scientific aspect of the show. But I thought that, Lily was going to have a little bit more involvement in Devs, but last episode when she arrives.
I thought episode 1, it was going to be about Sergey working at Devs, and that was a complete swerve.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, okay, it's going to be about Lily and the Russians versus Devs, and then I just stopped trying to guess what the show was going to be all about.
I thought it was going to be like some Westworld like kind of story where we have some AI something happened, but then it completely flipped the script and stuff, and I was like, wow, all right, so this is where it's going.
Right.
That's funny you mentioned that, Per. I was thinking that too in regards to maybe some AI, maybe some of the employees at Devs were going to be computer or be, robots or something of that nature. But
I heard the theory that Katie might be an AI. That kept popping up throughout the season.
it would make sense because of how everybody's kind of acting like a robot. You know, they're so smart, and I think I think that's kind of the gist he was going for. That they're so smart that they don't really know how to like evoke emotion. Like when you see like Forrest and Katie having discussions about love and stuff, it's just it's kind of a weird conversation. It's just like I don't know, they're like two weird people to me. But
And I think part of that, it's like you said, how smart they are. They're on that level, but also that they're peeking into the future. So they're seeing everything they're going to say and do.
Yep.
So they do start to sort of live it out mechanically. And I think that might also kind of give the robotic vibe you were talking about.
That's something that I was mentioning on my reviews too, in regards to the first episode that we got Katie and Forrest having that, kind of, found out that they were lovers, they were in a relationship, and I kind of mentioned in my review that kind of just goes to the brilliance of their performance to me, where they're kind of playing, like we had mentioned, kind of robotic, emotionless, but they know the future, so they kind of don't have those emotions to be excited, to be like,
right.
Only time I could think of Forrest being really excited is when he saw Lily climbing on top of the across the when Kenton had to get Lily off the roof. He didn't know that was going to happen. At least he played it off that way. But yeah, this actor, I can't think of his name now. The actor that plays Stewart, Steven something. I can't. The guy is just killing it, man.
Yeah.
I love him as an actor.
He's awesome. He has. I went into his IMDb a little while ago, and there's this big gap in his career where he acted a bit, I think, in the 70s, sort of stopped for 20 years. I don't know what he was up to, and came back. But I would love to see more of him. I fell in love with that character so quickly.
Oh yeah.
It is a shame that we didn't get like a Stewart-centric episode. I was like, man.
Oh man, you really took the words right out of my mouth, man. I was looking for that in a Lyndon episode, just kind of get a little bit of backstory with them and how they got integrated with devs. But even though we didn't get that, they still gave, whenever they were on the screen, they always killed it for me.
I just want that actor who played Stewart to start a YouTube channel reciting poetry. I would sign up for that immediately. This is something to listen to as you go to bed at night.
Oh, yeah, man. Kind of on a tangent, on a side note here, I know he's going to be in Dune, which we can talk a little bit about movies a little bit, but that's one of my most anticipated movies this year. But I can't wait to see him, and I hope he has a pretty good role in Dune.
Yeah, definitely. I'm such a big fan of Denis Villeneuve.
Favorite director.
All of his other sci-fi movies.
Mm-hmm. What did you guys think about Nick Offerman's his performance this season?
Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very, very believable. Like a man that's damn near lost everything, and just like from where you see him before, like all this stuff happens with his daughter and stuff. Like it was incredible.
The scene where he watches his wife and daughter's car get hit in the car accident, one of the greatest moments of the series. And Nick Offerman, especially, we know him as a comedic actor, so to see him in such a heavy, dramatic role, you said it, incredible. I was such a big fan.
That's probably my favorite scene of the whole series, is that moment, seeing him act those different, interprets or different series of him reacting to that was incredible.
Amazing.
And it's funny too, kind of going back on that scene ago when he was talking about participating in life. He still hasn't blamed himself or come out and flatly say that it was kind of his fault that his family died. He just says that it was meant to happen, versus, him playing a big part and not getting off the phone while driving.
Right. My brother was saying that, it might have been good for him to go see a therapist and try and work through these issues. But for somebody like him, I could go to therapy, or I could build the world's biggest supercomputer and prove determinism exists.
Exactly.
He's got all the money in the world, so he's pretty much like he's like Jeff Bezos.
Yep.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Yeah, let me catch up with some of these comments here. You guys have been awesome. I appreciate everyone too, for everyone kind of joining in the chat. Give this video a thumbs up. And I have also, let me put up a couple banners here. I have, for you guys want to check out Perp Minded and OneTake's channel. They have some great content on their channel, guys. So I'm gonna put a little banner here. The description there. Link. Go back to these comments here. Pull them up. FX own Hulu. Yeah, that makes sense, especially and then we know that Disney owns FX and Hulu, so it's all a corporate thing with Disney.
They're almost as big as Amaya.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I think Apple would be the Amaya equivalent, as big as tech company.
Right.
Yeah.
This is where I was so incredibly on the edge of my seat. We're finally going to find out what causes everything to go blurry.
Mm-hmm. I love this line here. You know what happens to the Messiahs.
Yep.
They get resurrected. Kind of foreshadowing exactly what happens to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right in the eye.
Yeah.
Devs and Watchmen are both limited series. Yeah, let me catch up to some of these chats here. See the video.
My brother turned up the volume, so we should be good on my end.
Okay, cool. Gotcha. They're watching with ads on Hulu. Oh, I guess that's another thing too. Are you guys which Hulu version do you guys have? Is it with the ads or without the ads?
Normally I have ads, but it seems to just be skipping them right now. So
Okay.
I guess in the moment, no ads.
Gotcha. Are you good on your end, Perp?
Just say I have my ways of watching the show.
Gotcha, man.
There's a reason why we can't see Perp Mind. He's trying to stay anonymous.
Richard says Twin Peaks is one of my favorite shows of all time. I'm a massive Lynch fan and absolutely love the return for season 3. Another hot take. I've heard great things about that show. Just never got to it.
You've got to watch Twin Peaks. It is incredible. It goes off the air for 25 years, comes back, and the new season was a masterpiece. I've never seen anything like it, where they can go away for that long and still come back so strong.
Did you get into Twin Peaks, Perk?
No, but I heard like people like when The Leftovers was coming out, they said like, yeah, The Leftovers is kind of like almost has the same, not the same premise, but like just the whole like mystery aspect to it is kind of similar.
I would love a behind the scenes of how they built the set of the devs, like how much went into the creation of this the set piece.
Right, how much of it's practical, how much of it's CGI. Looks amazing.
Very futuristic.
Yeah. More of that quantum computing in the future. Morgan with the super sticker, $49.99. Morgan, I appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate that so much. If you guys want to, another way to help support the channel, obviously, then giving thumbs up on the video and subscribing to all of our channels. But I appreciate the super chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Really appreciate it, Morgan.
That's awesome. You've got some good fans, Movie Files.
Yeah, man. This is what it's all about, man. I want to do, and we'll talk about it at the end, but I definitely want to do more collabs, especially with you guys, and especially during these times, not being able to interact with as many people as you want. So it's always good to have some community built and interact with some awesome people like you guys are.
Yeah, best time to be productive and creative.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So at this moment where we see Lily sees what happened, did you think in your mind that she was going to deter from that what she just saw, or she was just going to play it right out? What were you guys thinking at this moment?
I know I wanted her to. That was the thing I was screaming the whole time. I was like, okay, you just saw how bad everything goes if you follow what you see on the screen there. Just don't do it. I know determinism. I know all that. But just don't shoot him.
I'll do it.
I wanted it to happen so badly. So when she threw the gun away, it was like, oh yes.
Yeah, I felt the same way, because like by episode 6, I was like, yeah, she's going to either try to change her destiny, or everything's going to just play out the same. And just when I saw that scene, I was like, I just like caught up in my own head. It's like, yo, what if I knew the future, like knew like just what was going to happen in the next 24 hours or something like that. It just what would happen in the next day or something like that. Or if you knew you were going to die or something like that, would you be able to handle that? Like,
I mean, we can get into it, guys. We can get as deep as you guys want on this. As far as this kind of that thought, that was something I had mentioned, Perp, in my my review in regards to just taking a moment to think about the who, what, when, why. How do you die? How would you react to those things? Would you just put yourself, from a movie fans out there, Final Destination? Would you put yourself in the corner, lock yourself in the room?
Right.
Take all the money out of your bank account, spurge? Would you call your loved ones? Give your forgiveness to ones you might have hurt in the past. Like, that's just
exactly.
What do you guys think about that? Gil, if I was telling you tomorrow you're gonna have, I don't want to say get dark and gonna die, but you're gonna have some big life.
What have I walked into here? I remember seeing a commercial years ago where this guy won the lottery and he gets like $1,000 every month, so he wants to live as long as possible. Puts on a suit of armor to protect himself. I think that's what I would do. I would suit of armor. And quarantine myself, Final Destination or COVID-19 style, and just try and ride it out as long as I can.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know what I would do. If someone told me, you got 24 hours to live, I don't know.
I would live my best life.
Right. I mean, that's all you can do, right?
Nothing would stop, because like you gotta do that on regular. Just live your best life.
That's right. So 24 hours to live, you immediately start your 24-hour live stream.
There you go.
You get a lot of likes for that one, I bet.
Right.
You get a bunch of super chats and stuff. Like,
I love this moment here too, guys, with the whole private joke. The devs is now Deus, take out the V, or it's Latin for God, and then the whole Easter egg with Ex Machina, God machine. Just a moment.
Now, when you mentioned that in your review, I was just like, wow, I didn't even put those two and two together. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, Alex, that's again going back to him being the creator, a nice little Easter egg, but also, like I said, Deus with it being a god, and him, the whole Messiah God complex that Forrest deals with, and he thinks he created this godlike machine, which he has.
One of my favorite moments right there, by the way, where Lily picks up the gun and basically accepts that it's time for this all to go into motion. You see that single tear drop. Loved that. I think I was one of the people that generally was a fan of her performance in this show. A couple moments here and there where I thought were not as strong as others, but this episode, I thought in particular, she killed it.
It's like the supporting cast really helps her shine. Like the supporting cast, like just dude that plays Forrest, the dude that plays Jamie, and there's just so many different elements. Even the bum that sits outside, which I knew there was something up with him. I was like,
oh yeah, I've been saying that since day one with Pete. There's something going on with Pete because he's going to play a pivotal part, and he did. I think another moment I really love from Lily outside of this performance from the finale was the whole I can't think of the episode number, but when she was pretending to have the
psychotic break in
I thought that was great acting.
Yeah, that was good. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, speaking of like cinematography and just the way this show was shot, my favorite shot has to be like I think it was like episode 7 or 8, where like it pans over top the bridge, like when they're driving or something like that.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
I think it was something about that shot and the silhouette in this episode where Forrest and Lily are just looking at like a blurred image or something like that, or getting the thing to. That was incredible to me.
It's a gorgeous show. It's gorgeous for sure, and even. They had mentioned here that they had bought the song from 129 with the horns, the motif with the horns. It's a great soundtrack.
Yeah,
the score. I'll definitely. Actually, I looked it up on Spotify the other day and had it playing while I was working.
Is that the title here? She puts it here anonymous.
That might be it.
I'll have to download that and play some tunes later.
I thought it was amazing here that Alex Garland is able to show us several minutes of footage that we literally already saw moments earlier, but we're on the edge of our seat because it's the same thing. And we're just waiting. Is it going to deviate?
That's how you reuse scenes.
That saves on the budget. That's how they got enough money to build the whole golden box.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Religious symbolism. Oh, I love this moment where she makes the decision, guys, and we can talk about it now in regards to that decision that Lily makes. She makes a choice.
Mm-hmm.
She right in the front of the two people that believe that everything's predetermined and everything's meant to happen, and this is just they're lost for words.
Yeah, like Forrest's reaction to that is just like, wow, like he went from like just completely just being okay with what's about to happen, to like, yo, you just did the unthinkable, and just I was like, wow, she actually did it, but it's interesting that that it still didn't stop anything. It still played out differently.
Right.
Played out the same but differently.
Yeah, I love you were just saying it, but Forrest and Katie's reaction here, their total freak out, which I think makes complete sense. I mean, they believe in the Devs project, they believe in determinism to the same level that a religious person believes in their God. So to see that violated, it would blow up your brain and you would have a breakdown like we saw from Forrest here.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart here to see Stuart kill Lily, basically. Loved Stuart all season, and then he does this. I didn't know how to feel.
Yeah.
Because he also had a choice in the matter too. He could have just opened the door and let them both go through, but
didn't want to force to have that power to continue to do what he was doing with the machine.
And we also know, I think, when I watched episode 7 originally, and Stuart was basically hanging out in a hallway for hours reciting poetry to himself, I kind of laughed it off. I was like, classic Stuart. But if you think about it, that is what somebody who's losing their mind might do. And I think it could lead to you making a lethal decision like this.
Yeah. Yeah, just kind of reliving this moment here when I was watching it. And by the way, did you guys watch it when it dropped that Wednesday night? Or were you guys watching it that following morning, that Thursday, for all the episodes?
I probably watched it a couple hours after it came out.
Yeah, for the finale, we watched it right at 12:01 a.m. when it dropped on Hulu.
Yeah.
The music is so haunting.
Yeah,
so haunting.
It also hit me when I was watching this. We're seeing Lily die, and then I realized we're not even halfway through the episode, or we're just about at the halfway mark. So I was just like, what else are they going to do after this?
Exactly.
It's like two episodes into one.
And I love Richard's comment. I was going to bring this up a little bit later in regards to going back to the religious undertones in this show. Brings up Lily and Jamie as Adam and Eve, and we'll talk about that here in a bit in regards to the choice that Lily made and her being human in regards to whenever we're told to do something or not do something, human nature in us, we disobey that, going back to religion and breaking the original sin.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I love the conversation. Again, this is a show, this and most this and Watchmen, you have these conversations, you have the thought-provoking thoughts about show and life, and it's just I love it.
Yeah. This was great to see from Katie because, like we said earlier, she was a generally unemotional character throughout the series. So to see her at all affected, it's just really interesting to see.
Definitely. You're talking about the dance sequence earlier with Ex Machina. Love that scene.
Oh, yeah.
And another thing, guys, too, before we leave the chat, because we got a lot of comments, we're going to definitely read some of these, answer your questions and get to them. I appreciate everyone that's in the chat now. And again, if you guys haven't, give this video a thumbs up. Leave all your comments in the chat, and we'll make sure to get to them before we head off on this stream. And again, guys, make sure you're following Gil and also PURP Minded. Their links to the YouTube channels are in the bio or in the description. Sorry, so definitely give them a subscribe, guys. They got a lot of great content on their channels. I was also wondering too if we were going to ever learn or meet any of the other people at Devs. And I was also wondering, was the senator going to play a bigger role into the season? But like you were saying earlier, Gil, the things that we thought were going to kind of play out really didn't matter, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The senator was really bizarre to me, where she was there for a few minutes in one episode. I kept waiting for it to come back.
Right.
And then it did at the end of this episode. And it was just this little appearance.
Yeah, that was my only, like, I would say, like, negative is her appearance of this, because it's just like, well, what was her whole point of being here? Like, does she want to, like, use this tech? Or obviously Lily's just gonna probably just use her to just keep the devs thing running.
Right.
So,
right. And that could maybe go into the whole idea of, you know, government overtake one of their hands in the pie and try to, you know, I think that was probably what her character was trying to intend it for. Obviously, we didn't get that much screen time for it, but I think that was kind of maybe the intention from Alex, is just like the government always wants to know what's going on and have their hands into it. And get this technology, as we know, the Russian, which I like how things played out with the whole Russian spy aspect with Sergei and Pete and Kenton and all that. But I thought that was going to play a little bit of a bigger role, or making another appearance in regards to the whole Russian spy trying to get their technology.
yeah, like, that's what I said. If you've seen Westworld up to this point, it's just like, this could very well tie into like Westworld, just based off of what's been happening in Westworld right now, with just like predetermined futures and all that, and it's very fascinating. All this stuff is interesting.
Wait, this moment, by the way, is like the closest thing to a jump scare that Devs has had. As soon as his face popped up, it was just a big WTF moment. Incredible.
I was like, are we going into like a horror movie now? Like,
yeah.
So I guess thoughts, comments, concerns regarding, I guess we can say, do we agree that once they died, once Forrest and Lily died, Katie was able to take their conscience, their memories, put that in the data in the devs program, and that's how we got Forrest in the simulation. Are we all in agreement there, or some other theories?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. You can have my brother and I were having a big debate over this, because basically I think she took whatever quantum particles makes up a human being, makes up your consciousness, and basically recreated that data in the system. So for all intents and purposes, if you look at Forrest in the system or out of the system, you could say it's the same person. But you could also say she created a copy of Forrest. Right. So I think you can debate, is it truly Forrest? Is it a copy of Forrest? Does it really matter? Is there a difference? But I think that is the long and short of what happened here.
And that goes back to, I guess, I can't remember the actual episode, but when we started to kind of experiment or see them work in the dev system, they had the dead rat, and you saw the rat in the simulation, and kind of taking as you just mentioned, the particles or whatever they can for the rat and the data, and inject it into the system. Another great
it's so fascinating about tech, but also scary about it at the same time. Because people are already kind of doing this now in real life. Like, I forget, they made this one AI robot, Sophia, a citizen in like Istanbul or something like that, or some country over there. And I was like, that's the start of something that we probably don't want.
Right.
And Joe was talking about that Lily, the actress, what is her name? Sonia.
Sonoya. I always forget.
Yeah, but she's a dancer, which makes sense because she has some pretty sick dance moves in that scene in Ex Machina.
Sonoya Mizuno. Kudos.
I love this line too by Forrest, "Wish me luck," because the whole firing of Lyndon, he fired him because of the whole idea of, Lyndon perfecting the system, and instead of for the whole the images not being clear, she made a choice to say, this is the actual, this is Jesus, this is everything, and implemented it there. But now I love how Forrest is just like, well, when it comes down to it, wish me luck. I hope the Lyndon's theories were correct.
Right. He wants to see his daughter so badly. He says, all right, forget it. I'm done fighting the many worlds idea. Just stick me in there. Let's do this.
Here we go. This is the score here, guys. The tribal, and as you mentioned earlier, PURP, with the whole overlooking of the San Francisco, just just a gorgeous looking show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like in the episode previously, like the last episode where they had like the whole tribal,
The
like
opening, yeah.
that was creepy. I honestly gave me kind of chills and stuff. I was like, what is going on right now?
I would love to see him do. I'm a big horror fan, and I know Annihilation has a tinge of horror, but I would love to see Alex Garland do just like a straight sci-fi horror and just see what he can give us.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna lie, I even said in my review, in this moment, I was just thinking, like, are they really going to the idea of this just being a dream or a bad experiment went wrong when she's back with Sergey here?
Yeah, that's how I was going. That's how I was thinking. I was like, "Whoa, what's going on right now?" What I took from it, like the overall like ending to this, is like second chances, like getting another chance to like make things right with a certain person, like you said earlier, and whatnot.
Yeah, I have to look it up. Somebody in the comments when we were doing a review the other day said that in an interview somewhere, Alex Garland says he thinks of this show as being all about love. And I have to find that quote and fact check that. But based on how it ends, I could see why he would say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's usually how these type of stories kind of end off.
Yeah, the human element of it, again, it gets all sci-fi and heady and kind of deep into the science. But at the end of the day, it is about, the human connection, human love, and, that kind of does how it boils down most of the time, is the human elements really kind of hit home.
Yeah, because it goes back to saying like how certain characters are acting very robotic, like emotionless, and they forget about love and stuff. So
I like this comment here. I wouldn't say Lily is Eve; she's more of a Lilith. Now, again, my religious stuff on I can't remember Lilith. Is she the did she betray Jesus or anyone? And you guys know the Lilith? I have to look her up.
I would have to Google it.
I know she's somewhat evil.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, because I know she was mentioned in the trailer for Diablo 4. That's really the only knowledge I have about her.
Yeah, and Supernatural.
Yeah, I would say I don't know if you guys watched Sabrina at all on Netflix, but I know Lilith is one of the main characters, and I think she like took the side of, she like was the devil's like loving. I can't remember. I'm talking on my ass at this point. I don't remember who Lilith is. I'm gonna have to look her up though. But now she's just reliving the episode 1 again.
Yeah, the biggest shock to me at this point is I was wondering, are we actually going to get an optimistic ending? Because throughout this whole series, it felt to me so ominous, and I didn't think there was a chance we were going to finish this in any kind of a happy way. I thought it was even possible once the screen goes blurry. Does that mean our universe is collapsing? I wouldn't put it past Garland to take it in that direction. But that's what I kept wondering this whole time. I was like, are we really going to see Lily get a second chance, go back to Jamie?
Going throughout this whole series, like I thought, like, to myself, if that statue of his daughter comes to life, I'm out. I'm doing it. That
it's
thing
secretly
is creepy.
Garland's take on Godzilla.
Right.
Yes.
That doll was really creepy, or that statue was creepy, man.
I like your theory of like the world going to complete chaos. Like as soon as it goes to black, the statue comes to life and just starts reaping havoc all throughout the world and stuff.
A little bit of Ghostbusters there.
It is your season 2. You just wrote it. We're good.
There you go. The statue comes alive.
So good to see Lyndon back. I felt so bad for his character toppling off that dam.
Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
That was a great scene. Yeah, it shows like this and like dispatches from elsewhere and just Tales from a Loop, like these science fiction things that just really make you think, like incredible shows.
That's a show I've been hearing good things about. It is that still on, or is it already ended? Tales from the Loop
it's got like which one?
Tales from a Loop, because that's on Amazon, right? With Rebecca Hall.
They put all the whole season out. It's like I think 8 episodes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Dispatches from Elsewhere is on AMC. That's another good one with Jason Segel. It's interesting that you see all these comedic actors doing these like serious roles, like going even back going off topic with like Ozark with like Jason Bateman,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got Jason Segel doing this more serious sci-fi kind of psychological thriller here, and you know, it's really interesting. It's showing the range.
Oh yeah, I've always said that even on my movie reviews on my channel regarding you know, comedians jumping into, as you just mentioned, more sci-fi horror things. You think of a Jordan Peele with, you know, being many years in comedy and being a great horror director, but they, you know, they can make us laugh, but at the same time they can make us cry. And they have some scars and some dark places they can go. So I love, like you just mentioned, I love Ozark, love Jason Bateman as a director too. I don't know if you guys watch The Outsider, but yeah, it's really cool to kind of see even Nick Offerman in this, you know, comedic role into a serious role. It's always really kind of cool to see those layers from these incredible actors. And Richard was just mentioning here how they kind of humanize Forrest more, make him more of an oddball versus your stereotypical type of CEO. Yeah, I like that too. That he wasn't just like a money, all about money. I think he even said so in one of the episodes that he didn't care about money. He still lives at his house, isn't even a mansion. I think it was like episode 1 or 2. He was talking to Kenton.
Right.
But yeah, I love the performance and love the characteristics of Forrest.
And we do see he struggles with the stuff that Kenton does. I think in episode 1 or 2 after Sergei's killed, you see Forrest sitting against one of those gold posts, just feeling awful, and Katie tries to console him.
Yeah, now, I know Kenton is probably like the de facto like villain, but would you classify Forrest as a villain or if like an anti-hero?
I was literally going to ask that same question, man. Yeah, you can go ahead and take this, Gil, and I can give it my 2 cents. But yeah,
I mean, I think it's intentionally kind of blurred. I struggled to look at Forrest as a villain. In the first episode, I did because he killed Sergei. Right. But after that, they did so much to humanize him that I just started to feel bad for him. The only character that I was consistently able to see as a villain, besides Kenton, is probably Katie, only because of how cold and calculating she was when it came to, you know, Sergei's death and other, you know, of Kenton's misdeeds.
And even with Katie, could have made the choice to help, you know, Lyndon instead of him dying. Could have, you know, helped.
Right. That was the other scene I was trying to think of. I mean, I know from her perspective, she would argue it's predetermined. I don't actually have a choice. But just viscerally to see her talk one of our beloved characters into suicide, it's hard to walk away from that and not see her as a villain.
Definitely. And kind of disagreeing with you guys. Yeah, I at first saw Forrest as a villain. I think I even said that much so. And kind of my first reviews is he is, you know, he's making the order to have it, you know, having Sergei be killed. He didn't physically kill him, but I mean, he was right there. You know, he's just as much of a result of his death as anything else. But as you guys have mentioned, as the season kind of played out, we see the human side of him, and he, you know, he cares for people. He even has that, one of my favorite scenes is the conversation, like the awkward conversation between him and Jamie, which is such a great scene, and playing frisbee in the street. But it just kind of shows you the human side of Forrest here.
Right.
You can even look at like Lyndon as like, since we're talking about like making these parallels to God and stuff, like if Forrest was God, Lyndon must be like Lucifer. He got kicked out of paradise.
Fallen angel.
Yeah. That's great. I love that. And someone also had mentioned too, I don't know if you guys thought about this, they mentioned in my comment in my reviews in regards to, so we imagine that Forrest has been in this simulation a little bit longer than Lily and was able to reunite with his family. I wonder what is there the sense of time and, you know, the difference between when their deaths hit, how long he's actually been in the simulation.
Right. He makes that comment, you get used to it. Right. So it seems like he's been there long enough to acclimate to living in the simulation.
Right. It's funny too. Someone had, I think it was episode 6 or 7 when we actually see the death of his family. Someone was mentioning in the comments, a lot of people actually mentioned that they thought that the wife was maybe still alive because he never really referred to her other than Maya and trying to bring her back. But I was thinking that was going to maybe be like a big reveal that the wife was going to somehow play a part into it, but you know, it was obviously.
Yeah, I thought it was bizarre that he kept. I mean, of course, he's going to focus on his daughter. You know, this very young daughter that died way too soon. But I did find it odd he never mentioned his wife, but finally in this episode he does, and I thought, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave. We're gonna after this episode, or once we're done, we're gonna read some of these comments because Richard kind of gets into the whole quantum, explaining quantum machines. So we're gonna get into this in a little bit. I definitely want to read his comments and read all you guys' comments. So we're gonna leave it off for a little bit and just finish off the episode. I love how as he kind of tells Lily, there's different variations of the outcome. There's paradise, there's hell, there's other different decisions and choices being made.
Right. And the way when he's explaining that, the camera keeps cutting to different angles. Sometimes it's darker or lighter. So as though we're seeing little glimpses into those other realities.
Mm-hmm. Again, going back to the religious tones, life after death, you know, do we relive our lives again? Do we have this opportunity to kind of, you know, as we had mentioned with the whole hug that we'll get in a bit with Jamie, do we kind of relive those things? Do we come back as another person, or do we die? You know, these are the questions that the show kind of poses to you.
I saw that you mentioned that in your review that you know, the whole deja vu, and that deja vu is a very trippy just concept, and just just stuff that happens, because that happens to me a lot, and it's really weird.
You and me both.
And it's like, I don't know if y'all have ever heard that theory, like when we're in our dream, like we're dreaming or something like that, where it's just going into like a different reality, like a different like our body just stays here, but we're like astro projecting somewhere else in like a different like a different
a different realm.
Yeah, a different realm or something like that.
I haven't heard that theory, but I mean that sounds interesting. I can definitely, with so much time on my hands, I can definitely dive into watch some videos and read some things.
I would watch a show about that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So this is interesting here. I know someone had mentioned this in the comments in one of my videos or my review for this. So we see the scene play out with the senator here again. This is our first time seeing her since episode 2 or 3. But apparently someone said, if you notice, as this scene ends, that they're arguing with each other. I don't know if you guys caught that, where the camera kind of pans out and you see Katie and the senator going back and forth, whatever. I mean, obviously Katie mentions here that she wants the dev system to continue to go on. Who does she tell? She says no one. I'm going to try to keep an eye on that if they did have like a bit of an argument.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. Yeah, I'm going to pay attention here.
And we can maybe ask that question: what happens if she doesn't keep it on? Do they just their simulation's over?
That was my interpretation, is that if it shuts off, then basically they're gone. And I heard somebody in the comments on a review the other day was saying, you know, maybe time, it doesn't need to progress for them the same way it does for us. So even if the simulation is only on for a moment, it can contain an entire lifespan for Lily and Forrest. I interpreted it, though, that it's sort of real time. You know, if you want Lily to live for 50 years, you've got to keep the simulation on for 50 years.
Interesting.
And I'm actually, I was pausing. It was great insight there too, Gil. I'm rewinding that scene because it does look, I don't know if you guys notice it. I'm kind of rewinding it here, and I'm kind of looking. It does look like there's some type of conversation going on that looks pretty intense.
I'm looking at that and I'm thinking we're seeing a glimpse of the screen, and that is Forrest playing with his daughter and his wife. It's hard to tell, though. I hope they're not arguing, because that would be a bummer. That would tell me the senator's maybe not willing to keep the machine on.
Right. So here I'm actually, and for those at home, so I'm right at the time code of 46 minutes, and let's see. So we see Katie crying. So 46:36. Yep, you're right. That does look like, I think it is 4. Okay. Yeah, it looks like it's just a projection of the screen. Okay, because I saw a bunch of hands,
arms moving around.
Man, I've never been to San Francisco, but it is beautiful. So yeah, this was I know some people weren't fans of the ending, reading some of the comments, but I loved it, guys, in regards to this moment here, because Jamie was kind of the ultimate friend zone for most of the season, and kind of just like, Jamie, she's over you, man. She clearly wants to find the mystery out with her boyfriend, but I love the kind of the rekindle of their love for each other, and I love this moment. Would you guys?
Gives us all hope.
Exactly right.
Yeah, man. Jamie is definitely one of the MVPs of the series.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, the fact that
Yep.
he got tortured, and he was still willing to just say F it and just put his life on the line just to make sure, just to protect somebody that he cares about. You
I
know,
mean, not even his life, his family's life. We have that scene where he tells his dad to go to the lake house or whatever, but yeah.
yeah.
So that
When Kenton came up came up to the house, and when he opened the door and I saw you see Jamie's reaction, I was like, oh man.
heartbreaking, man. So there you have it, guys. The little title card there. Deus. I love that switch of the title again. Just the brilliance and the meticulous. Everything was detailed. Everything was just so just incredible, in my opinion, guys. We can. We're gonna go into these chats here. If you guys have to be anywhere in the next, like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, are you guys good to go?
Free.
Okay, so we're gonna get to these comments here for sure, guys. But just you know, tell me you guys' thoughts in regards to just not only this finale, but just general consensus for the show, and you know, the conversations that are had, the theories, everything. Did your theories play out right? I'll go into my theories when you guys are done. But just Perk, if you want to go ahead and kind of tell me a little bit about your thoughts on the finale, the season, stage is yours.
Yeah, it's I thought it was satisfying. You know, I see this a lot, you know, as far as people not liking endings to shows. I think a little people get a little bit too picky with certain endings and stuff. Like, I think Game of Thrones kind of started this. But you know, I thought it was a satisfying ending to just a story, like a straightforward story. You know, all the characters got, got their beginning and end. I think they wrapped every character pretty much had a closure. I still think we should have gotten a Stewart centric episode. I'm still mad at that one episode that kind of set that up, and we didn't get that. But you know, it is what it is. Lily, she's cool as a character. You know, I understand she's not everybody's favorite, and that's not gonna be everybody's cup of tea. This show might not be everybody's cup of tea, but like, this is the type of shows that I really enjoy watching, because you can sit there and have discussions like we're having now and just break everything down and whatnot. It's not just, oh, turn your brain off and just enjoy what's happening in front of you and stuff. And you know, I think it was a well told story. If they were to do a second season, it would be weird, but I'm glad that they kept it a limited series and whatnot. So
I agree.
that's just my 2 cents on it.
What about you, Gil? What did your overall thoughts of the finale season?
Yeah, I loved the season as a whole. I think when it first started, I immediately fell in love with the show. I would say halfway through, I maybe disconnected a little bit, because I think there was a little bit of a shift in tone where it started out a little bit more on the thriller side, where the Russians come in, you think there's going to be some political intrigue. It's Lily versus Devs. And then as it started to shift into more of a contemplative sci-fi, where it was less about these characters and almost more about the big ideas the show is dealing with, it might have taken me an episode or two to kind of catch up with that and shift my expectations. But by the end, I thought it totally stuck the landing, and it did actually bring the character and emotional aspect back into it in a big way. I mean, we end on a shot with Lily and Jamie reuniting, and that did work very well for me emotionally. So overall, I love the series. I loved all the conversations around it and how much it's going to stick in my mind even after the episode has ended. The conversation between Forrest and Katie a few episodes ago, where he asks Katie, what if you see yourself cross your arms 1 minute from now and you just decide, I'm not going to do it? That was a conversation I thought about for weeks, trying to solve the puzzle. What would happen in a deterministic reality if you tried to play out that experiment? So loved the show, loved the conversation around it, and very much looking forward to whatever Alex Garland is going to do next.
Yeah, I echo exactly what you guys said in regards to just the finale. It worked for me on so many levels. Number one, as you had kind of mentioned, Gil, the first half of the season, I think, did a good job of setting the stage for somewhat of you get to know these characters. You automatically feel bad for Lily because her boyfriend, that you assume was the love of her life, was killed, and she didn't know why. She didn't know why it happened, and we're kind of going down this rabbit hole and into maybe a spy espionage thriller. But then as the story kind of unfolds, we kind of put that aside. That's kind of the hook, right? If you're gonna get people's attention and kind of get on the show, let's have some little thing that kind of gets people intrigued. But as the story kind of unfolds, we learn about Sergei and the spy, and now we're learning more about devs and the sci-fi elements and the questions being had about us as a humanity and everything of that nature. So I love the finale, as we talked about a little bit earlier. Again, we have these big, grandioso type of concepts and conversations, but at the end of the day, like you said, Gil, it's a human story, and I think Perp even said this too. It comes down to just the human emotion. We see two people hugging, embracing each other, and kind of start from scratch. So I love the finale, and then as a package, it's incredible. I'm excited to actually rewatch. I think your brother Adam did this because he caught up to the season. I would love to just sit down for the 8 hours and just watch it as a like 8 hour movie, essentially, because I haven't done that yet. I just obviously watched it week to week. But I'm really excited to rewatch it as a whole package. But overall thoughts with the show, I thought it was just incredible, as you guys had mentioned. It shows like this that gets the conversation started. That a lot of the shows I watch, I love action movies. I love action shows, horror shows, all that stuff, all the different genres. I'm a genre freak. I love all different type of genres, but I love when this show like this gives you fascinating characters, and we have the most exciting thing of the episode is conversations. We're not seeing explosions or people getting killed left or right. We're not seeing, this person turning on that person. We're just watching conversations. Some of the best scenes, again, were just two people in a car, or the scene with Katie and Lily at the table talking about the pen and all. I mean, that's just fascinating. Just great script writing, great acting. And I'm just in love with the show. And I used to buy Blu-rays for shows, but I don't do that too much now because obviously you can watch it and stream it and all that stuff. But it shows like this that I want to look at behind the scenes. I don't know if you guys follow devs on social media, but they on Instagram, they have like behind the scenes of like the Alex Garland and the characters. And I didn't watch any of it because I wanted to save it till I got done with it. But I'm going to go back and watch those kind of behind the scenes and watch interviews because it's a show like this that I just want more and I want to learn more about it and how they came up with certain concepts. So for me, it's a 10 out of 10. I don't know if you guys do rankings for your show reviews, but this was a 10 out of 10. This was damn near perfect TV series for me. Perfect for me.
Yeah, I don't normally do ratings, but if I had to, I'd give it a 9.5. I only had to take half a point off because they didn't give us a Stewart episode, but it's cool.
Gotcha. And then what about you, Gil, as far as this, not necessarily a rating, but as far as, from the shows you've seen this year and the last year, kind of just where this show kind of fits for you as a score, as just your overall,
Yeah, it's definitely one of the better shows I've seen. If I were to give it a score, it'd probably be something around a 9. For me, it loses a little bit just because I think about, like I said, mid-season, there were a few moments that didn't quite click for me. The one episode where Katie watched a bunch of Lily's life and she sees Lily meeting Sergei for the first time. Some of those scenes felt a little cheesy to me and didn't quite work for me. But that's not what the show, that was such a small part of the whole show. So it was a near perfect show for me. I loved it overall. And it's funny what you said about physical media. When I was a kid growing up, I kept dreaming one day I'm going to have the best movie collection, every DVD I want. And then by the time I grew up and started making money, having a full-time job, now everything's online. So it's a little bit of a bummer.
I mean, I do collect, I buy movies, when it's a movie I love, I definitely buy it. But when it comes to shows, I haven't bought a series of something probably since Game of Thrones season probably 7. I haven't bought 8, and we don't have to get to that conversation. But I'm gonna definitely. This is a series that if it is available on Blu-ray, I'm gonna pick it up like that, and I'm excited for the Steelbook of Watchmen that comes out in June. So and look at all the behind the scenes and all that. But yeah, guys, I mean, this was a great show, and as you had mentioned, with it being a mini series, we don't have to. Oh man, what does season 2 have to offer? What is this, that, and the other? What questions were unanswered? What storylines didn't get a full fulfillment? But as you guys had said multiple times throughout the stream, had a beginning, had a middle, had an end, and that's that's all we can get sometimes. We don't have to have, I think you said it earlier, Gil, we don't have to, or maybe Perp, you said this, we don't have to have 4 seasons of something. Sometimes you just need a story, just a single linear story, and I'm satisfied, you know?
Yeah, those are the best type of ones. That's why I like the shows like The Leftovers, where like we brought up the dialogue. The dialogue in The Leftovers is just incredible. That is the action, you know, that is the action scenes and stuff that people love. But I get that some people don't like these like drawn out narratives and stuff, and a lot of dialogue in their shows and stuff like that. But me, that's why I just love television, is the conversations and
definitely
the thought provoking, like, just, you know, conversations and whatnot. It's dope.
It's incredible. And I'm gonna do Gil, I'm gonna watch and also Brooks, I know you watch it too. I'm gonna watch Westworld and catch up eventually one of these days. But you gotta watch Leftovers, man. That is definitely a show I recommend, my friend. You gotta check that out.
Yeah.
By the time you watch it, I guarantee you it's either going to be your top 5 or it's going to be your favorite show of all time. Because it's my favorite show of all time. It spoiled me, because after that, I was just like, I literally was starting to look at different, like, shows completely different. Just and just
after
like
you finished that show, there was nothing left over to watch after that.
Yeah, and it's just like it's just I was like being really harsh towards certain shows like Game of Thrones. I never understood the hype around it. Like, you know, I love the first 4 seasons, but after that, it just kind of just falls off the rails. Even there's an anime. I don't know if either one of you watches this or somebody watches in the comments below. Attack on Titan, which this character on my avatar is one of the
Zeke,
characters
right?
from. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I love that show. Yeah.
You reviewed that, didn't you, Gil? Did you guys review that on your channel?
Yeah, we first started our channel. That was one of the first shows we talked about, was Attack on Titan.
Yeah, that's another, like, not only is it a great anime, it's just, it makes you think, and it deals with humanity and stuff like that. It's just incredible. We just need more of that.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I've heard of that show. That's something I got to put on my watch list too. I've heard great things about that show. So what we'll do now, guys, is we'll kind of transition into a lot of these comments. Again, guys, thank you all that were watching along with us. Dropped a thumbs up, and we're going to read these comments here. But again, if you guys are watching this on the replay or watching it during the live, definitely give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already, definitely give these gentlemen a subscription. Subscribe to their channels. Both of their links are in the description below. They got a lot of great content. As you guys can see through this live, they're very smart. They have a lot of great conversations, so definitely give them a follow on all their social medias as well. But like I said, check out their YouTube channels. They got a lot of great content. So let me try to find where we left off with these questions, these comments. I think it was Richard's comment talking about diving deeper into quantum computing. Where was it at? Again, there's a lot of great stuff in here, guys. So we're definitely gonna go through these and let's see on that. Explain. Okay, so here we go. So this, I think, was the last one I left off at. I think Forrest needed to forgive himself rather than go through the agony and trying to prove determined. Yeah, no, I think that's. Do you guys have any thoughts about that? With Forrest needing to forgive himself.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of joked about it earlier, saying, you know, he could go to therapy or he could build a supercomputer and try to prove that the nature of reality didn't allow for anything else to happen. And you see what it did to Forrest. I mean, he turned into basically a shell of a man that was kind of just going through the motions, mechanically living out his life, similar to Katie. And, you know, the only thing that sort of works against that opinion is it does seem to have sort of worked out in the end. You know, he gets this afterlife in the Dev simulation where he's reunited with his daughter. But then you get into the whole debate over, is that really Forrest? Is it a copy of Forrest? But in general, I would agree with that opinion. You know, you've got to come to terms with the reality you're living in and figure out how to live your best life.
What do you think about that, Perp?
Yeah, that was really really well spoken. I felt like, you know, Forrest felt guilty, and that guilt was just eating him up inside. That like Gil said, like he had to just build a supercomputer.
Yeah.
And you know that has its consequences too. Trying to play with nature. You know, everybody that's ever tried to play God, it never, you know, ends well for that person. or
Yeah.
the people that are pretty much involved with that. So, just, you know, I wouldn't, I don't really know how I would like, yeah, that's pretty much the gist of
Yeah,
what I
no, you
got with
said it
that.
well.
But
No,
yeah.
I agree with you guys both in regards to kind of how he approached things, and it's really interesting too in regards to that, how that relationship blossomed. As it's a shell of himself. I wonder when he was able to let himself back out, and the relationship between him and Katie. They obviously both have a strong belief, but I wonder how that came about in regards to how their relationship kind of started. Again, if there were some offshoots episodes, or if we got like an extra episode or two. I wonder, again, going back to a Stewart centric episode when we saw a little bit of him living in the RV. We saw, some, again, I think a show on a lesser caliber, we might have gotten some of those moments, but then it would have maybe felt a little drawn out, 10 to 13 episodes where we spend time with Lynn, which it would have been great. Again, even Stewart, I thought he was fantastic, but even if we would have gotten those moments, it might have felt a little like it kind of unwelcome stay for the show. But I would love maybe like a little spinoff, maybe, or like a web episode, like you said, getting like a background with some of these characters. But yeah.
Give us a Stewart movie.
Stewart movie.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm right because he's still, we got to think about it in regards to, we saw the happy ending of the simulation with Lily and Forrest, but Katie has to live her life every day now. What happens to Amina, the company? What happens? Do they go under now when everything kind of gets unraveled? What happens to Stewart now? Does he go on a trip across the world and try to answer the unanswered questions about life? So, I know we said this is a series finale, but I wouldn't be opposed to maybe exploring some of these other questions with these great characters. But if we don't get it, I'm fine with that too. But let's see what we got here. So I think this is when Richards dives into the quantum computers deal with, and again, you might have to take this. I know you and Adam are really into scientific stuff. So superposition between 1 and 0.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is just kind of gibberish to me with some of this
The
stuff.
closest I understand the superposition is that it essentially means something can be in multiple places at once. And it's something that only makes sense in the quantum world. So if you remember when Katie is arguing with her college professor in that scene, her professor is talking about the double slit experiment. And that experiment is all about the fact that you have this wave or particle that appears to be in many locations. And if you try to observe where it is, it seems to sort of collapse and follow the laws of normal physics. I'm sure I'm butchering this explanation, but I think the long and short of it is a superposition is something existing in multiple places at once. But if Richard Ramirez here is the professor, he can give me a grade on that.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I know a little bit of quantum computing, not as deep as like what Richard is talking about, but I get the gist of it.
Yeah, this to me is foreign language. I'm like, okay, it sounds cool. It sounds hella interesting for sure. And then he got some more interesting comments about it. Unlike traditional binary computers, they operate on a standard binary code. Again, that all sounds awesome. That sounds cool. Kind
of think of like the Matrix.
Oh yeah, someone had said a comment, something too, like if they do a season 2, they would love to see Mr. Smith make an appearance.
An interesting crossover.
Mr. Anderson. Computer and binary, and a little bit more. Yeah, this is Richard. This is one of Richard's. I'm a friend of mine. We're gonna have to talk about this on social media, my friend, because this is all fascinating stuff to me, and I appreciate the educational course you're giving us here on computing, man. It's quite amazing. Yeah, it is, man. It sounds really interesting. So, we're talking about the monologue, the universe. This again, there's a lot of great conversations being had within the show, and the script was just really well done and really thought out. I wonder what mindset Alex Garland was in when he wrote this script. Was it in between Ex Machina and Annihilation? Was it after Ex Machina? I wonder like where this script came about, and was this a movie maybe at one point, and the studios again, we all know about how studios kind of don't like to take risks with some of these projects, but I wonder where he was when he wrote this script and if it was ever a movie at one point versus
I know he mentioned in an interview that making this show, he actually got a lot less pushback than he typically does from studios.
Oh, yeah.
He talked about Ex Machina, Annihilation, and Dread. He had to fight all the way to get those things released. And in some cases, like Dread, it got such a limited release, barely anybody saw it.
Yeah.
But I bet after this, he's going to want to work more in television because it sounds like he was given a lot more creative freedom here.
I mean, I think we all, and Perk, definitely, I would love your thoughts on this, man. I know we can all say we're in the golden age of television. At least I think we are in regard to content that we're getting. You're seeing, back in the day, it was frowned upon if you saw a movie star in a TV show. That was the end of their career. So nowadays, complete opposite.
I would even say, like, movies, like TV shows, television has been killing it the last, like, I would even say 20 years. They've just been stomping movies into the ground with just like the stories that they've come up to, like even starting way back with like Oz and where we're at now with like certain shows and stuff. Like it's incredible. It's incredible. Like you got shows like The Leftovers, Cobra Kai, Stranger Things. The list goes on and on and on and on. It's incredible. That's why I have this anytime this gets brought up, all these streaming services and stuff like that, I find it fascinating because it's like when one friend would say, yeah, it's like too much TV, but I was like, no, you can never have too much of TV as long as for every 1,000 shows out there, 1,000 shows that get put out, there's at least 100 good ones or things that just will stick. And those are the 100 shows that really matter. So, and I'm always the type of person, I don't always go towards the past and stuff. Like I love the shows that I've come across, like The Leftovers and all that, but I'm always searching for another story. I'm so like invested with different stories. Like on Netflix, they just dropped Outer Banks. Phenomenal. It's just like this coming of age story that's like it's like kind of a mix between like Goonies and like Stand By Me a little bit with like some other elements to it, but it shows like that are just really incredible. Like we're definitely and I think it's going to continue. And also people forget about anime also too. Anime has some of the dopest characters and stories like that's been put on screen in a long time and stuff. And I think more people should open themselves up to just exploring other things, go outside of your box. Because you'll never know what you'll like.
Exactly. What do you think about the golden age of TV that we're in, Gil?
Well, first I want to second what Perp Minded said about anime. I watched Castlevania a couple years ago, which I think is not technically an anime produced in America, but that was kind of my gateway drug into anime. I watched that, then found Attack on Titan, and then it was like discovering, you said for every 1,000 shows, there's 100 great ones. It was suddenly discovering, well, here's 1,000 more you didn't know about in the anime world. It's just a different style of telling a story, but there are some amazing stories being told in anime. So that was a very exciting time for me, just discovering all these shows I hadn't seen. But going back to what you were saying, golden age of television. I get stressed out thinking about every time someone tells me, here's an amazing show you got to watch. There's so much to watch, and I'm not complaining. I mean, it's amazing, but it's just like my brother you mentioned earlier caught up on Devs in a day. I mean, that's what you have to do nowadays to keep up with all of it. You've got to dedicate 10 hours to watch an incredible series,
So not to get on because I definitely want to read some more of these comments, and I know you had mentioned the experiment here, and I think Richard was even talking about it too. Again, this is all fascinating stuff. But what are you guys' opinion on binging versus week to week? I know obviously just my opinion, week to week you get the conversations that we're having now versus I love Ozark season 3. And I spent the whole day watching that. But then after a while, it's still in my mind, but the conversations aren't being had. So I love week to week format, but I also love a good binge, a show like we talked about, Stranger Things or something. It's like they're created to make you want to press play to watch the next episode and watch the next episode. Right. What are you guys' opinion on preferred week to week or binge?
I actually made a video about this, and I always have this discussion with like my other YouTube buddies and stuff. Like, some prefer week to week because they don't want to get spoiled. But I say if you're on social media at all, like you're going to get spoiled. You can't avoid that. You can, but if you're a type of person that is social media heavy, then there's no avoiding it. Like anytime they put out a chapter for Attack on Titan, I gotta go ghost for like a couple of days because I know people on my timeline just like to spoil stuff.
Mhm.
But I prefer binging just because you can watch it at your own pace.
Right.
And it's just it's the future. As much people don't like that and they think like they get tired of the binging. Like, no, I rather prefer that because if you're gonna give me a show week to week, like take The Mandalorian, you gotta make every single one of those episodes worth me investing that little bit of time week to week.
Mhm.
Because like to me, the Mandalorian was okay. I definitely think it was overhyped.
Mm.
I think that season 2 could be better, but it's definitely overhyped. I just don't think it was that spectacular, and that goes back to just all the other shows that I've seen. So and I could tell that like there's some people out there that haven't watched that much television and think Game of Thrones is the best thing since sliced bread, or think The Mandalorian is the best show, and it's just like, and I don't like getting snobbish, but like I just be like, yeah, you should check out this show or this show or this show, and see if you still think that way. But I prefer binging all day.
I mean, it's
You just
almost like, and I don't mean to cut you off, and I don't definitely want to get your opinions, Gil, but it's almost like, as you just mentioned, and don't get me wrong, guys, I love Game of Thrones, not my favorite show of all time, but one of my favorite shows. I love Game of that journey that we're on, and to a certain extent, kind of got a little, all over the place, but a Stranger Things, a Game of Thrones, a Mandalorian, those are kind of like, and I'm a big film guy, those are your blockbuster shows. Those are the shows that have the marquee, that have the advertisement like galore, versus a show like Devs, where it's more of the independent A24 type of TV shows that a lot of people kind of has not a cult following, but has a small following, and people try to get people to these shows like we're doing with Devs. But I think you had mentioned those are definitely, that's how I kind of see those shows as far as like, I love blockbuster films. I go to them every, opening night, but then I love seeing an A24 film, a Lighthouse, I love seeing a mid 90s, and some of the more smaller films that just kind of makes you think more, and it kind of sits with you, and maybe you have a little bit more personal connection in some of those more bigger shows. So Gil, what do you think about your preference on streaming and binging?
Yeah, I do generally lean towards preferring week to week, only because I love all the conversations that happen around these shows.
Mhm.
Game of Thrones, when that was on, after the episode ended, the episode didn't end, because then I went and listened to whatever podcast I was listening to at the time where they discussed Game of Thrones, talked to my friends about it. So it kind of gives this universal experience where everybody's watching the show at a similar pace. And so it keeps that conversation going. Occasionally, though, I mean, when season 1 of Stranger Things came out and I got to sit down for a few hours, binge a few episodes, at the time I wasn't complaining. But Stranger Things to me is also one of those more blockbuster shows where the conversation is more, oh, I love the part where this happened, and less dissecting, what do you think Forrest's motivations were in this episode? So I think to me, it's a sort of case by case basis. In general, if it's a more heady show where there could be a lot of conversation around it, I would love to see it released week to week. Perp minded to what you were saying for something like The Mandalorian, that's one where I wouldn't mind if it got all released at once and I can kind of binge it at my own pace.
Yeah, and I wanted to make another example. Like take Walking Dead, like for a show that has 16 episodes, which I still to this day don't know why they decided to do that. I feel like that kind of killed the show also.
Money.
Yeah, it's like, and it's another show that goes on like a 2-3 month break. So it's like I would rather them kind of condense it, put 12 episodes out, because they got AMC Premiere now. So it's just like put all the episodes out, because it's like this season right now that's going on, season 10 is a good example of just nothing's really happening. Until like the last couple episodes, and now we have to wait until the fall for the season finale, which I think is complete BS. I don't even want to talk about that, but
we'll go on to the next topic, but just kind of finish your point on binging and TV shows and golden age. I think we're, like I said, we're in a great spot. I think whether it's all preference, right? Whether you prefer binging or week to week, but it's just great that we get all this great content, and a show like Devs, like I said, we can talk about it and break it down, and everything. I think it's just great. So we'll just kind of read through some more of these comments. And your brother Adam said Nick Offerman killed it. I couldn't agree more. I think we all agree that. I guess we can kind of dive into this a little bit. Whoever wants to start. Favorite characters regarding preference wise, story wise, who got the best story, who had the best moments. I guess I'll just kind of start my order in regards to, I think Nick Offerman was the MVP. Well, I'll talk about the MVP of the show, but just for character wise, Nick Offerman, I thought killed it. I thought he deserves an award, in my opinion. This was, as you guys had mentioned earlier, the performance with the whole seeing his daughter and wife die, seeing his reaction to Lily throwing the gun out, and everything. I thought he was fantastic. Another character that's and I guess not in any particular order, but Jamie was a great character in my opinion. He brought the levity. He was kind of the audience. He was just like, this is crazy, but I'm on this ride with you, Lily. I'm gonna go and risk my life and everything. And that's how I kind of felt with Jamie. We were Jamie in this sense, and at a certain extent, Lyndon and Forrest, I kind of put them in one group in regards. I just love each and one of their scenes and their conversations, and I would love a spinoff show with them if we can get like a road trip with them, or opening up their own company. And then you have your other characters. I thought Lily was great. Kenton was, again, the quote-unquote villain, and I always root for villains when it comes to movies and shows, and I thought he was a fantastic addition to the show. But if you guys, who were some of your favorite characters, or your favorite character?
I guess I'll start. Obviously Stewart, man. Stewart is
your guy.
The most like human character on this show. Like, he's the one that shows emotion, and he can crack jokes and stuff like that. And like, when you first introduced to his character, like, he puts Lyndon in his place pretty much, and it was funny. That was a funny scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I would have to say second probably would be Forrest, just because he stood out.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the wild card, because I always feel like there's a wild card in like every show. Mm-hmm. I actually like Lyndon for like the little parts that we seen him in, because it's like he kind of figured things out, and Forrest had no choice but to like go with his method of figuring things out, or just how things played out.
Yeah.
I also like Lily. She takes a while to get used to. If you've never seen her on camera before, like, she'll definitely not be your, like, some people's favorites. But for what they gave her, I think she did a really good job. And also, I like Jamie. Jamie was really cool. Just love makes you do some crazy things. I always say that, like, in these shows, like. Like, because he's better than me, because I would be like, this chick just straight up left you for some random dude, and like,
go ahead.
And now you come back out like however many months or years. Now you want my help to find your boyfriend? Nah, I'm out. You're on your own,
man. Yeah, love makes you do some crazy things, but you coming in my house with this flash drive, you're talking about want me to look into this flash drive or his phone, the Sudoku app, to find out how, like, no. On to the next. So what about you, Gil, in regards to your favorite characters? And
I feel like I'm going to be pretty repetitive to a lot of what both of you said, but Forrest probably comes out on top for me, mainly just because of how much Nick Offerman killed it in that role. My favorite scene is the one we've talked about 10 times already, but when he sees his family in the car accident and all the other realities are overlaid on top of it. It would have been easy to play that scene just screaming, no, but he does it in such an interesting and unexpected way. The way he says no, and just repeats it over and over, and then slowly walks towards the car, where it seems like the natural way to play it is car accident. Let me run towards it and see if my family is okay. But I think the way I read it is I don't want to see them, because the moment I see that they're dead, that becomes my reality. But if I take my time getting there, I can drag it out a little bit further, that there's still a possibility that they could be alive. So I just found his character so interesting. There's that scene. There's also just the idea that he's this scientist who You could argue he's just an entrepreneur who put the right team together, but he seems to be so emotionally motivated where he's trying to get the machine to work. And when people tell him, here's how you do it, Everett interpretation, the many worlds theory, he counters against it, but doesn't seem to have a scientific reason for it. It's just, I want my Amaya here. It's got to be the Amaya that I care about. So he has this emotional pushback against the idea. So I have good things to say about all of the characters. Of course, Stuart Lyndon was super interesting as this innocent character. Seems, if there is any happy-go-lucky character in the show, Lyndon seems like the one.
Yeah.
So to see that character dealing with all this heady, crazy stuff was interesting. So good things to say about pretty much every character. But for me, Forrest comes out on top.
Yeah, I think we all can agree. He was the most layered. He got the most backstory, the most development, I would say. And Nick, he took that role and ran with it. And I hope he does. Even if he doesn't get, I'm always I would love the Oscars and awards, but even if he doesn't even get recognized, he was recognized in my award.
We recognized him.
Yeah, definitely,
good enough,
definitely, for sure, man.
Would you all agree that Kenton was probably, out of all the characters, kind of like the most generic?
Yeah, I guess so. Kind of thinking about it, because he had a we learn a little bit about, working with the CIA. He's just a kind of a lynchman or not a sidekick, but he takes orders. And he just had, he was just, yeah, I would definitely agree with you. Yeah.
I liked him at first. I thought he was no BS, first 2 or 3 episodes. And I thought it was kind of refreshing to see a character like that. But one of my least favorite moments of the series is when Forrest and Jamie are playing Frisbee. At the end of the scene, you see Kenton in his car and he goes, you're all a bunch of buddies now. Should have freaking guessed. And he was just short of having a mustache twirling villain moment.
Yeah.
So,
or a little
I wasn't a fan of Kenton.
Yeah. No, I actually, as you just mentioned, I like the kind of Terminator of the show. He just, came in, did his job, was just an assassin. But yeah, just kind of thinking about it as you bring up PURP, he was, I guess, the most generic and kind of more, like fit a certain standard where everyone else had, they kind of fit outside of the mold and kind of had different layers to them. But yeah, but I like his cold bloodedness, even though he killed one of our favorite characters, but it's kind of a Terminator in my eyes. The scene with the car accident was amazing. Yeah, I agree. That was probably the most, like, technically speaking, the most action scene, I guess you could say, outside of like the fight between Kenton and Pete when he was killing him. But I guess that was like the most, kind of actiony, I guess, scene that you could say in the show, which that was amazing in my opinion, how that played out. Richard goes back to observer, present, not present, and the whole bias. I think he's talking about the whole free will of aspect of the show, which again was a conversation I love diving into every week in regards to just, again, more about life conversations in regards to, are we in a simulation? Is this all meant to be? Were we meant to be to come together right now? This exact moment to talking about the show.
This was always going to happen.
Always going to happen, guys. Roads lead somewhere. So your brother says his eyes wide open. Look at those. Yeah. Yeah. Again, I'm excited to look at it all at one piece, like an 8-hour movie, and kind of seeing how that experience, if it changes or if it enhances, if I love it even more. But I'm really excited to do that. We all got time on our hands, so I will be doing that sooner rather than later. Westworld 3, and as you guys have mentioned, the whole, again, I'm not too caught up with Westworld. I know it seems like it's a lot of great people. I love all the actors in it, especially this season with Aaron Paul, being a big Breaking Bad fan and seeing him do that. That's a time and everyone,
Not to cut you off, but Marshawn Lynch is in this season and stuff. Which
I saw that. I mean, is he in the show, or is he just like a glorified cameo?
He's in the show, and also Kid Cudi's in the show also as well.
Gotcha. Now, how is Marshawn Lynch? Is he pretty? Did they give him things, or is he just like just kind of?
It's funny. It's kind of funny that he just doesn't really say much at all.
What does he say on the podium? I'm just paid to be here, or something like that. That is a personal show. He's just there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out because I've heard some great things about it. This is one of those. Like I just haven't. I don't know why. I just haven't got back.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright is amazing in there. Like he's gonna make a dope Commissioner Gordon. I've been trying to tell people, like, just based off of just what he does in Westworld, he's gonna make a dope Commissioner Gordon.
based off this conversation, guys, I'm gonna have to have you guys on again, and we're gonna have to talk about just like movie news and TV news because I love what the Batman's doing and Matt Reeves, and that's one of my most anticipated films next year. It might get pushed back, unfortunately, but it's another conversation for another.
Yeah, I noticed your Batman blender bottle. I got a little jealous.
Yeah, man, this is the guy, man. It's my favorite superhero. And again, if you guys are ever open to it, I'm going to have you guys on again. And we can
definitely
movies and shows and all that. Interesting. I just strongly agree with and more about conversations about Katie. And that's another character. I guess that was a character I like too. Allison Peel, I believe is her name. Mm-hmm. I've seen her in a lot of things, TV shows like American Horror Story and other movies. She's a great actress. She did a really good job as well.
That's why I noticed her from from American Horror Story, Cult, season 7.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That was do you guys watch American Horror Story? I think I'm like a couple seasons
Absolutely.
behind.
I loved it.
I
think I dabbled a little in season 1, but I never kept up with it.
Season 1 and 2 are, in my opinion. So I've watched all the seasons up till Cult, which was the political season. I didn't see the whole crossover season. I can't remember that.
Apocalypse.
I didn't see I didn't see the slasher season, which I really wanted to see, but I didn't get a chance to watch.
Yeah, it's a fun show because not only is it anthology, I'm a sucker for anthologies. I always tell people that if it's an anthology series, I'll check it out.
Right.
100% of the time. Like you could dive in at any time, but like definitely the first 2 seasons are the strongest.
So good.
And I think they're starting to kind of return to form with with Apocalypse. I know a lot of people don't like Apocalypse, but I thought it was a really cool, interesting crossover. 1984 was
the slasher.
That was just a complete thrill ride. It was hilarious. It was fun. Yeah, so you definitely should check those out.
Yeah, I'm gonna catch up to it. The only reason I'll always have a love for American Horror Story because it put me on to one of my favorite actors in Hollywood, and that's Sarah Paulson. I think you put Sarah Paulson in anything, I'm all in. I love her. I think she's a great. I know some people didn't like Glass, but I loved her in Glass. Bird Box, she had a small role in that movie, but I'm a Sarah Paulson fan, and I always loved American Horror Story for putting me onto her. So Richard said, I think Katie knew all along. Forrest wasn't correct because he wouldn't have the guilt of his life. Yeah, I mean that's something. What do you guys think about that? That Katie kind of knew how everything was going to kind of play out, as we kind of mentioned earlier in the episode when she was watching Lily's life play out. I always took that moment where like Katie is almost like 5 steps ahead of what's going on in the situation. So what do you guys think about? She kind of was maybe aware of what was going to go down.
I think you could definitely. There was hints of it. You could tell through her facial expressions or just certain scenes that she was doing. Like she wasn't saying much, but she was kind of just thinking, and just like that definitely would make sense that she wouldn't have known the whole time. So,
and I think in one of the interviews with Garland, he said that he thought of Forrest and Katie as priests almost, and he saw Forrest as a priest with guilt, and Katie as Forrest as a priest with doubt, and Katie as a priest without doubt. And I think that was very clear in the show. Even back in, I mentioned the scene already where after Forrest has Sergei killed and he has those sorts of doubts, Katie comes over to sort of reassure him. It's tough for us as humans to unlearn a lifetime of morality and emotions. So I think she at least has the belief that she knows what's going on, and she's much firmer in her belief than Forrest is.
No, true. No, well said. More about the reading more about the kind of experiments there. Definitely. Just saw him on Run. Yeah. I don't know if you guys are watching HBO Run. Merritt Weaver, Donald Gleason. I reviewed the first episode. It's kind of a dark comedy thriller with Phoebe Waller-Bridge as a writer and producer. But yeah, I think he's mentioning that. So Stewart, he's actually in the show. He was in the first episode. Again, this guy is like everywhere. He's going to be in Dune.
I just became much more likely to watch that show. That's good to know.
Yeah, he's not a big. Well, at least from the first episode, he literally just popped in like the first 5 minutes and he didn't come back up. But it's a fun show. It's okay. The first episode was okay. Again, I'm a fan of the talent involved, and I'm hoping that episode 2, which is tomorrow, it's a 30-minute show. So if you guys wanted to catch up on it, it's a dark comedy thriller that has a little bit of interesting things going on for it. How many people in here? We got a lot of people in chat. And these, I'm catching up with a lot of these comments. So Katie was the sweetest character in the way she was so free will and on the bridge. Yeah. We talked about Katie being this kind of both Katie and Forrest's performance, very kind of robotic and didn't seem to have much emotions. In that moment when she allowed Lyndon to die, is definitely kind of puts her in that maybe that villainous role in a sense that we talked about a little bit earlier. If anything suggests our own universe simulation is a double. Yeah, more about again. I love that. I'm gonna have to talk to him later about this. Again, it's a lot of deep dives we can go in here. And I think your brother, yeah, they were having a lot of conversations too.
Man, there's a whole sideshow going on here.
Yeah, apparently. I love it. How did you guys?
She's saying only the three of us get to talk, and they all have to stay there in the chat, text only.
Yeah, I mean, I would love again something. I love this, again, one of the I guess blessings in disguise with the whole COVID-19 is everyone's starting to get a little bit more creative in regards to their content. One of the biggest things that I've been wanting to do for a very long time was have people on my channel. And I just didn't have the technology. I just didn't know where to go about doing it. I know we were talking about it earlier, Gil, with OBS and Streamlabs, and have sometimes it can be a little bit complicated. But I think one of the things that came out of this is people are now trying to they want to talk to people. I think once we finally everything clears out, people are going to embrace each other more, and and all that stuff. So, so I would love to have more guests on and have you guys on again, and maybe have people join into the live streams, sharing the link and all that fun stuff. So for sure, Nick Offerman was amazing. We can all agree with that. They're talking more about the experiment there. I love it. Is the only host gets to talk. Yeah, I say. Anyone can post comments. Yeah. Discovered more of this great conversation about the simulation. Let's see here. Seeing him in this role was incredible. Again, we talked about it when we were watching the show. Seeing, you see a lot of comedians kind of doing this now. I think of even back in the day, Eddie Murphy, big comedian. When he transitioned into some of those roles like Dreamgirls, and seeing him play more roles. Jim Carrey, when he played, even though I didn't like that one horror film, but he played. I don't know if you guys are fans of him and Kate Winslet. What was the name of that movie? It's one of my favorite.
Oh, Eternal Sunshine.
Yeah, one of my favorite movies of all time. Seeing him play that, so I think all these comedians, they have that in them. Just, they get paid the big bucks to make us laugh, but they have acting talent in them, and I love what Nick brought to the role.
Adam Sandler.
I was just about to say that. Uncut Gems,
Reign Over Me, Punch Drunk Love. Yeah, I mean, a lot of great actors out there that in the comedian realm. Expecting something like the glitching out. Cool. So I guess that's another thing while I kind of look through these comments, guys. As far as your theories throughout the show, did a lot of the stuff kind of play out how you guys thought it was going to play out in regards to the finale? I was always on the boat of that. And a lot of people were telling me every week, like, no, he's not trying to go into another multiverse to live out his family. A lot of people were telling me I was stuck on that idea that he was just trying to go to either bring her into his universe and it was going to disrupt our normal day lives, or he was trying to go into another multiverse, but obviously that was debunked. But did a lot of you guys' theories kind of play out the way you kind of saw things happening, or were you guys just kind of
I didn't really have any like theories. I was just too caught up in just watching, because I just wanted to watch to see how it's just all going to end, essentially. So I didn't really have any prior thoughts of like what was going to happen. Like I was trying to figure out like what exactly is he trying to accomplish with this. Like, is he trying to bring back his daughter in some type of way? But the way that they did resurrect his daughter is kind of a more practical way of doing it in the sense of just how the story is and whatnot.
Right.
So.
Yeah, my theories kind of shifted around throughout the season, but there were a couple I had that were at least in the ballpark. When Forrest told Jamie everything is going to be okay, the way he said it to me sounded pretty certain, and not just a, hey, bud, cheer up, everything's going to be A-okay. To me, that created a suspicion that whatever happened at the moment where the simulation or the device went blurry, Forrest felt like after that point they would enter a better world. So I think that was at least in the ballpark of what ended up happening. And there were other theories where I was completely wrong. After Lyndon got fired, I thought maybe Lyndon was going to work with Lily to team up against Forrest. So clearly I was wrong there. I don't even think the two characters ever met. So I had a couple wins, a couple losses.
Gotcha.
You know, I gotta mention this. I think this was like one of the funniest scenes. It was it was random when Forrest and Jamie were playing frisbee in the middle of the street at night.
I love that scene.
It was great stuff.
It was like the most like, and I feel like he did that because it's something he did with his daughter or something like that. Like
yeah, definitely. And I love the little moments that we did get with a little bit of comedy, like that moment reminds kind of a little bit of levity. I think of the scene when Lily said, "Jamie, give me your car. I'm going to San Francisco and I'm going to handle this." I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll just sit here and watch."
Don't worry, I got this.
Yeah, it's like I love those moments. I love this comment here, as you mentioned. I liked how off the performance was of Lily, as jarring as it was, bland at times. It works perfectly. She's a breaker of rules and breaks the rules of what to expect as a lead character. I think that goes hand in hand to what I was saying a little bit earlier about how I like the performance from Lily. It wasn't your traditional. She was heartbroken throughout the whole time and sad. You know, she had her moment with Sergey, and you know, she figured out everything. But I actually enjoyed the performance that we got from Lily character.
Yeah, she didn't become like they could have easily written her character as like a damsel in distress, and that would have been annoying.
I agree. I like the "I'm scared" with word magician speech.
Oh, that was a great moment. Yeah, I agree with that.
Second monitor for the chat. Yeah, I do. I need some, again, technology. It's a lot of stuff that I want to do on this channel, and in time, things will definitely kind of get better and better. Brandon says, dropping a like, appreciate it. Lily was an excellent character. Oh, let me bring that up here. Rose here says, Lily was an excellent character. I loved her all the way through the show. Yeah, I was a big fan of hers for sure. He's good. And again, I had mentioned earlier, the MVP for me of the show was obviously Alex Garland. Again, writing every episode, directing every episode, having a story he wanted to tell, and you know, taking a risk. I think that's something that big. And when we talked about it earlier with the whole TV shows versus movies, and how obviously movies, in my opinion, you know, they have, again, I love blockbusters, but there's sometimes there's a formula to it, you know, about the big blockbuster, summer blockbuster, certain expectations.
They play it safe.
Exactly. And I think, you know, we can all agree that one of the things I had mentioned in my review is I put Alex Garland in that same boat of a Christopher Nolan, a Denis Villeneuve, these kind of directors that just make you, they approach their craft differently. You know, they don't care about the numbers. I read earlier last week with Dune, they're going to have 2 pictures, and I really hope they get 2 movies, and I hope it doesn't become a Blade Runner 2049 situation, which I loved, but a lot of people didn't see that film. But I love how Denis Villeneuve says he doesn't care about the box office. He just wants to tell his story. And I love that. You know, I would love to see a Denis Villeneuve TV show or a Christopher Nolan show in the future, or some of these more other directors.
Even like how you said, like, you know, Damon Lindelof always gets flack for the way he writes his stories. Like, it might not be what you wanted, but like that's what he wanted. You know, like people always give him shit for like Lost, but to me, like when you really break it down, like, you know, he gives you all the clues in all his shows. Like he gives you, you know, just enough. And even with the leftovers, like he even said before the show ended, he's like, don't expect me to explain exactly where all these people disappeared at. Like it's not what it's about.
I think Damon Lindelof also has evolved as a writer over time. People that keep going back to Lost, I think they haven't kept up with his later work, because you can't watch Watchmen and say that it suffered from the same mystery box elements as Lost. That was one complete story told in a handful of episodes. So I do think Lost suffered a bit just with dragging certain storylines out, but he's evolved as a writer since then. And I think he's been killing it.
Did you guys see, I know it was during all the COVID-19 and things were getting shut down, but did you guys see The Hunt, the kind of the satire? Satire?
I haven't seen it. I've seen the trailer and like heard the buzz about it, but haven't actually watched it yet.
Without any spoilers or anything, what did you think about The Hunt and Damon? Because he wrote that film. That's why I bring it up.
Yeah, it was cool. It kind of I kind of understood where they're going for, but like the movie overall, I think the first half was stronger than the second half to me. Because after like certain things played out, I just didn't really like personally care.
Mhm.
Like, you know, it was a cool movie though. You
Betty.
know, it was very interesting, very risky movie to put out there, but I thought it was fun.
Gotcha. Yeah, I had a good time with it. Betty Gilpin, I'm a big fan of hers, and I thought she was so awesome in that film. Joe says maybe she thought proving him wrong was enough revenge instead of shooting him. That's a great comment there. I think that's very true. Instead of
Yeah, I think when we were contrasting Devs to an action show, this is the pinnacle of it, because you have a moment where the best revenge is that she doesn't kill the bad guy.
I agree. More in-depth conversations here and regarding just kind of repeat themselves in Nature, Math, and Us. Yeah, I love how, again, going back to the whole religious undertone, Lily, you know, again, going back to the decision she made, the choice she made, the human nature of us to kind of define, you know, what we're expectations, what we're told to do. I love that. And again, the whole Adam and Eve conversation is just so fascinating. And more, again, I love these deep dives that these people are getting into in the comments with this AI and artificial intelligence and all that stuff. It's just so fascinating to me. I love it. And there's, more conversations here regarding, technically we do know we're going to die, just how and when we kind of forget that we live our days. Yeah, it's very true.
Very deep.
Yeah.
I'll have to
Very true, Adam.
give my brother props for that later.
Again, some really great comments here, guys. If you're watching this, if you're still in the chat, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Continue to bring in your questions, and then for those on the replay, definitely leave your comments in the comment section. And again, like I said up top, make sure you're subscribing to OneTake and PURP Minded. Their content and their video or their channel is in the description below, so definitely give them a subscription, guys. They have some great, as you can see, some great comments and some great commentary on things. So Lily was amazing. I love what she did. The fun, she freaked Devs out. Yeah, no, Lily was great. We all agree that, at least I think we all can agree that Lily was a great character. I liked her arc. The gun, that fun. Deus, my phone sometimes types what it wants. Yeah. That's funny because the little comments, it kind of corrects itself. And this that is funny. I mean, our phones are kind of a Deus, right? They're kind of God machines.
Yeah.
We can do everything with our phones.
They control our lives. That phone dings, and I have to look at it.
All right.
Yeah, machine learning, like, you know, because your phone's always listening to you. So like when you ever look something up on Google, it automatically like knows what you're looking for. It's kind of creepy. I don't know if you've seen the whole just the kind of this kind of goes into what we're talking about, but like even Google's working on this thing called I forget what the actual code name of it was, but it's essentially where, say if you were trying to set up like an appointment, you could set a timer and stuff like that, and on your phone, and it'll automatically call that place that you set up an appointment with an automated like voice. So it's like not even you talking. You could have it set to a male voice or a chick's voice and stuff like that. Is really creepy to me.
That is crazy. That is crazy. I think I lost. There's so many great comments. And actually, I think it took me all the way to the bottom. I'm sorry if I didn't read off some of you guys' comments. I'm gonna try to catch up to them. Can Katie still talk to them in a sim? That's a great question. What do you guys think about that? Can Katie kind of interact with Forrest? Can they have like a little powwow? She can send him a text message or something. What do you guys think?
I don't think that's possible, because if it was, they would have probably tried to do that already, or I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only time we saw somebody interact with what was on the screen was in that white sort of staging area where we saw Forrest and we saw his daughter. So I agree. They haven't shown the ability to do that. And if they did have the ability, I think that it would have been not as tragic for Katie in the end. And she seemed pretty upset to have this wall between her and Forrest.
Yeah, it's almost like that scene where Forrest is going into the sim. It's almost like he's at the pearly gates and saying his final goodbyes, and you're never going to be able to talk to him again. And I guess that's kind of a tragic love story. You know, obviously Lily and Jamie kind of have a second rehashing of their kind of rekindling their love. But, you know, Katie, she had to know this whole time what his end game was. But yeah, she still loved Forrest and developed a relationship with him. And it's kind of a not so happy ending for her, right? Let's see here. I think the government will use machines to arrest people who will someday. Yeah, that's funny.
More brilliance from Adam.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like what Captain America, right? The Winter Soldier, when they predict things.
or like Minority Report. That's probably
Minority,
what
yeah.
he's thinking about.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, great call there. Great call. Logical flow, scientific. Yeah, I'm gonna have such a fun time reading these comments again. Some of the ones I missed. You guys are having some great comments here, and I really appreciate it. Lily was great. Stuart was too. He was so freaked out by it all, for sure, for sure. Let's see here what we got. She lost her happiness from them. I wish she could walk away and live a good life. I assume, yeah, she's probably talking about Katie still
Right.
being able to have a good life and have a happy ending like Lily and Forrest did.
Mhm.
Really tragic person. Yeah, I agree. Adam says in one simulation, Forrest becomes the head of the Department of Parks and Rec. Hey, that's a very good point. You know, after everything plays out, I think Adam's right that he went to go to Pawnee, right, and work with Leslie, and that's how everything started. This is the prequel to Parks and Rec.
Right.
Yeah, I love these comments here. Very smart. Let's see. Trying to see here. Forrest is one who supported a college education and opened her future upon graduation. It's a bit of a relationship, but taking and giving back, I think. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I wonder, what Forrest really thought about Katie. I know he told her that they had that one kind of heart to heart where he said, he really, really liked her and she really, really liked him. But I wonder, was there still kind of a little bit of let me help her with the schooling and kind of use her intelligence for this machine, or did he really love her? What do you guys think in regards to that relationship?
I don't know if I would use the word love, but I think that they definitely, I do think it was genuine on both sides, but you could see Katie was hesitant to use the term girlfriend when they're both in bed together. They won't use the word love, but they'll say, I'm deeply in like with you. So I think they recognize that it's a temporary situation, but they do like each other. Forrest is vulnerable. He needs somebody. Katie doesn't really have anybody else she can talk to about everything they're dealing with. So I think it's genuine, but I don't know that I would necessarily call it love.
Gotcha. What do you think about that, Perp, with regards to their relationship?
Yeah, I agree with Gil saying, like, they just maybe it was the case of like they didn't want to get too emotional about it, or just I don't know. They're just two weird people. they're weirdos, but
I think we hit the pinnacle, guys. We got William Shatner in the chat now, saying Steven Henderson. Yeah, he's the most experienced actor for sure. Look him up on Wikipedia. He's also a professor and teaches acting. Well, I am going to sign up for his course once COVID-19 ends, and I would love to be a student watching him. Even though I don't want to be an actor, I would just love to hear him talk about acting.
Maybe you can land an interview with him.
Oh man, that would be incredible. No, he's a great actor. I love his work. Forrest sincerely appreciates Katie's intelligence too. These two are more of a collaboration rather than that's a great point. That's a great point there. See here. So glad it's limited. Second season would have ruined it. Yeah, I mean we can. So here's a conversation we maybe have in regards to, and let's just play devil's advocate. If there were a season 2, Alex Garland was attached to it, directing, writing every episode. How we feel about that? Again, just playing devil's advocate. Let's play. We're in another multiverse, and this is a season 2.
Based off how this played out, obviously you couldn't use Lyndon, but if they had to kind of rewrite it and they kind of left it open ended for Lyndon's character, I would kind of make him like the villain of the season 2, and kind of have him try to just, because that's all I thought he was going to go for, is just to steal the idea and go take it somewhere else and stuff, and it becomes this huge thing. Like now the government's getting involved. Now we gotta stop the government for getting their hands on this and whatnot. And I can somewhat agree that season 2 would kind of ruin the magic of this season. But it just depends on the direction they were going to go. I would even go the anthology route, where it's just like we just get different perspectives of these other characters and stuff, and just kind of build up this world. Where like somebody from Devs, whatever, or just just the anthology method or whatnot. Yeah, we just get new characters each season, so it's fresh.
So Gil, here I'm a writer. You're Alex Garland, Gil, in this scenario. I'm coming to you and say, Alex, I need you to make a season 2. All I have right now is, what if one of the people in the simulation realize they're in a simulation and they're trying to get out? What do you say? You're Alex Garland. Is that something you would roll with?
I was gonna say that if we were gonna go to a season 2, I'd be really curious to see what Katie would do next. Somebody who's so certain of everything, was such a believer in determinism, and then to see that violated, I'm curious to see what she would do next. So let's say there's somebody in the simulation that starts to realize they're locked in there. Is Katie watching? Does she see that? Does she try to find a way to communicate with them somehow, even though it seems to be impossible? But
I mean, that's what Westworld is, right? Even though I didn't watch most of the Westworld, the machines are realizing that they're machines. That's essentially what's going on, right? They know that they're in this kind of made up world.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Yeah, so we've seen how that story plays out, and it's a fun story. It doesn't usually work out too well for the humans involved.
Oh yeah. I just had to throw this in the chat because anytime I see this and anyone brings it up, I don't know if you guys have watched Haunting on Hill House. I'm a big horror fan. This is one of my favorite pieces of anything horror. Have you guys seen Haunting on Hill House on Netflix?
I haven't, but I'm also a huge horror fan. So right now I am literally writing that at the top of my notes. And I will be checking that out.
Man, Perk,
horror story.
Haunting on Hill House.
Can't wait for season 2.
Oh my goodness. We don't want to give you too much, man. I highly, just like not on the caliber, it's a completely different show, but in regards to just story and characters and literally I'm kind of desensitized towards horror. Like a lot of things don't get to me. And I'm pretty sure you can attest to this, Perk. There's moments in Haunted on Hill House where I was literally scared. Like I was on the edge of my seat. And there's one scene in particular, probably the greatest jump scare of all time. Highly recommend that show, man. If you're a fan of Mike Flanagan, Dr. Sleep, Hush, what else has he done? Perk. I mean, he's just great. I like Mike Flanagan a lot.
All right, I'll check it out. I'll report back.
And I know Perk loves it because it's going to be season 2 is an anthology. It's going to be a whole different scenario. So I'm a big fan of that show. Let's see here. Yeah, they talk about, I'm going to have to watch Westworld. You guys are going to make me watch Westworld after this. I'm going to have to just press play on it. More about Westworld here. Let's see. Again, this is a lot of great comments, guys. I appreciate it. From the question on how to make memories. Like, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on this fundamental question of how they make memories, live like real human simulations. What do you guys think about that?
I think it goes to something Forrest said to Lily in the finale. He said that in the machine, it's not just data, but it's also the emergent properties of the data. So if you take a human being and break it down into the little quantum bits that make them who they are, you recreate that in a database in this system. It's not just a bunch of numbers, but it has emergent properties. And one of those properties is memory, consciousness, emotions. So I think the show is saying that we are made of something, which means at a certain point, if we had a supercomputer, if we had the ability to do it, we could recreate the essence of a human being.
Gotcha. What do you think about that, Perk, in regards to the fundamental question in regards to how these people have memories, assimilation? Do you agree a lot with what Gil was saying there?
I kind of cut off. It kind of crashed on me. Like, just repeat the question.
They were just wondering about. They were just curious about how the simulations, how they had memories, and Gil was just basically saying that since Forrest and Katie, they have made all this data, that's how the simulations, these kind of mock characters. If this was like a video game, like Sims, or it's funny that the new Ryan Reynolds film, I can't think of the name of it right now, where he realizes that he's in a video game. They have all this data, and that's how they're kind of able to make these memories and actually kind of be human-like. I don't know if I butchered that, but yeah.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense because it's like that's what companies and corporations are kind of doing now. They're using up all our data and stuff, like things that we log into, and even on Facebook. And Facebook is a good example of this. Like, I forget if you look in certain things, whatever, Facebook, like you could, like it knows so much about you that you don't even know. and it's really creepy. But yeah, it's definitely a fascinating thing to talk about, though. Like,
definitely,
like, and why they're collecting people's data and stuff, and all this stuff is very possible.
Yeah, they're just making clones of us all. That's why they need our data, and that's how we're just repeating everything. More about the scientific Interstellar. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about Interstellar? Is that a film you guys like?
I was a fan of that. I know that there were a lot of people that
I haven't watched it in a long time, but you know, I liked it.
Yeah, I was a fan. I liked it.
Yeah. TV diet with Daenerys. yeah. Game of Thrones.
Something died for sure.
That was a hard one for a lot of people. And I mean, that's a whole conversation for another day. But yeah. We talked a little bit about the odds of a season 2. I think we're all in agreement that we don't need a season 2, and I don't think they'll ever make a season 2. And I think that that's great on them. Just an open book, like we all said at the beginning, middle, and end. And we can just now look forward to the next project from Alex Garland. Look forward to the next project with these actors that were in this show. So, unfortunately, no season 2. I guess you can never say never. If FX or Hulu or Disney, in this case, they came to Alex Garland's door. I mean, obviously, I think we can all agree this show hasn't like broke the doors off of like the conversation. This isn't like an anomaly where we have this big show where everyone's talking about it. We have people just break it down, but I don't think it hit those like levels where they need a season 2. But in another alternate universe, if Disney did come to Alex Garland and said, "Hey, we want a season 2. We're giving you all this money," I don't even think Alex Garland would do it, but.
Yeah, I agree. One piece of good news is Garland did say that as much as he can, he wants to reuse this cast. So not an anthology, but his next show, if it gets made the way he wants, it sounds like it's going to bring a lot of these actors back.
Yeah, I would love that. As we talked about, Lily, she's in all his movies, and I would love to see Stewart make an appearance, or Stephen Henderson make an appearance in his next movie, or what's the actress? Which I guess I don't know if this was only me, but for most of the season, I never knew that Lyndon went by a he, and I said that in my videos, and people corrected me, and I appreciate that too. But I didn't know if you guys knew that if Lyndon went by he. I knew he had mentioned it.
I remembered the first couple of episodes. I was confused because I wasn't sure what the intended gender was for the character. And then somewhere around episode 3 or 4, they referred to the character as a he. And then I looked it up and I saw the interview where, kind of like Peter Pan, oftentimes Peter Pan is played by a female because it's a young character, but you don't want to work with a young actor. You're not guaranteed the best performance. So Alex Garland found Kaylee Spaney and cast her in a young male role.
Yeah. And then
so wait. So that's a chick?
Yeah.
She's, and that's where I was in my review. Wow. I was like, he's going by he, and she's a great actress too. Or at least she was in 2 movies that I saw. One of the movies I did not like, Pacific Rim Uprising. And then the second one, she was in Drew Goddard's Bad Times at El Royale. Right. I thought she was a really good character there. So I thought that was interesting that she was playing him, which I thought was really fast.
That just blew my mind.
You didn't know? You didn't realize that?
No.
No, like literally, because in my review, it was pretty early on. I kept saying she because I was referring to the actress, but I was saying Lily or Lyndon as a she, and someone was like, "No, it's she's playing a him in the show," and I'm like, "Oh, what?" And then they brought it up in the show because they did keep referring to him as Lyndon as a him. So, it's pretty fascinating. Anyone seen Patriot? I think I've heard about that show. It takes place in Boston, if I'm not mistaken. One of my favorite shows. I think it has like Kevin Bacon in it or something like that, but no, I haven't seen it. I think that's what the show's about, if I'm not mistaken. We got a lot of good recommendations too for shows. Like I have to start watching Westworld and Attack on Titan. Gil, you have to go ahead and catch up with Leftovers and Haunting. I don't think
Bill House. Yeah,
he's seen everything. I don't know. Is there a show you haven't seen yet? Perp, that people have been bringing up. You're the TV guy tonight, my friend.
Yeah, it's just I did that a lot. Like, it's just really like because like I said, I'm pretty picky, but I'm not too picky where it's just like, I'm not gonna completely just dismiss this and not watch this. Like, there are certain shows I will never watch, like Law and Order. No,
you have to catch up on all 38 seasons of Law and Order.
Yeah, like CSI, LVC, whatever it is now. No, I'm not watching that. No,
Oklahoma. It's crazy.
But I want to watch Money Heist because like my brother's got
Yeah.
my dad into that. Like they were like sitting there like hooked to the screen watching that. So
Yeah, I've heard
that seems
about
like
that.
an interesting thing.
And it was also, as I'm reading through these chats too, Perp, I know you had mentioned a couple times, and I know you just reviewed it the other day, The Outer Banks on Netflix. I watched like the first like 30 minutes or so, and I hear it's good. So I mean, and it sounds like you loved all the episodes, but is it so far? I haven't hasn't hooked me yet, man. It's too wide for me almost. It's almost like I don't know.
I think you just got like just tune your brain, not tune your brain out, but like just just rewatch the first episode and just go from there because it's just such an adventure because it's like four friends that they're just like they've been best friends for X amount of years and stuff like that. They're kind of like the outcasts of the town and stuff like that, and they come across this compass that is connected to a bigger thing, and this is where they end up going on to this like treasure hunt
For
to
like
go find like
yeah
like this treasure that's worth like 400 million or something like that, and it just goes into so many different like avenues, and you get so much with like different characters and stuff. Like the cast is incredible. The cast is just phenomenal. The way that they like kind of throw the villain in there is really well done. And it's just a really fun show. Like I said, if you like the Goonies and you like Stand By Me and stuff like that, and has anybody ever? I don't know how old y'all are, but have you guys Rocket Power?
Which show?
Rocket Power.
Oh yeah.
It's been a while, but yeah, I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
It's kind of like when I've seen these four characters, it's kind of like the closest thing I'll get to that, and just because they're into surfing, they just do they like to go fishing and stuff, and they do stuff that normal teenagers would do, and like there's other factors to it, like there's kind of like hierarchies, like all right, the rich versus poor, like kind of like the outsiders. But yeah, it's a really fascinating show. It's really well fleshed out, I think.
A lot of people like I said, I watched your review and you had a lot of good praise for it, so I'm gonna have to give it a revisit. What was, speaking of Rocket Power, what was the thing that they used to say to each other?
Wiggity wiggity wiggity.
Yeah, they even do that. They eat like this a little, not even like a spoiler. Like I found that to be interesting that they did that in the show. They actually did the whole wiggity 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 thing. I was like, yo. Wow.
I may have to check this show out.
Yeah, the same here.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess this career actually, let's see here. I actually think Katie would be the biggest winner of them all. Now she's the chief scientist. She owns Dev and runs. Yeah, I mean, you could look at it that way. Or again, she seemed pretty heartbroken at the end, and just really it seems like her life goal. Well, I don't say life goal, but it looks like her main priority is to keep the simulation going. So whatever it takes, maybe she takes up another company or continues to fund whatever Amina, whatever they produce, and use the funds to keep that going. So it'll be interesting. Stewart probably would quit. Yeah, I guess. What do you guys think about this? Stewart quitting, and let's see. Then it's just her and the government and manipulating them. Yeah. What do you guys think Stewart does after Devs? What's his life like?
I mean, if he has a choice, he might be he might have to answer some questions from the U.S. government or from the police, because he did murder 2 people. Either way, I don't think he'll ever be the same again. He seems to be a completely broken man.
Yeah. What do you think, Burke? Do you think Stewart's on an RV trip looking for life, or he's just knocked up?
I was just about to say that, like, he probably just hopped in his RV and just drove into the sunset.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's smart enough to have.
That would have been dope. That would have been dope to see him just ride off in the sunset and then just fades to black and then says "to be continued," and that's where we get our Stewart movie.
Pretty awesome. Or like a little post-credit scene. Back in the scene where Katie manipulated Lyndon. Yeah, we talked about that scene. That was definitely kind of a big moment for Lyndon, and also Katie, and the decision that she made not to tell him about the different or what was going to happen. I'm wondering if there were any realities where Lyndon. It seemed like there wasn't any realities. If you guys want to pitch in, it seemed like to me that every variation of that situation and played out that Lyndon died every single time. But I mean, there might be another alternate ending for him.
Yeah, that was my interpretation as well. But people have pointed out to me that in the opening of that episode, you do see a quick second of Lyndon sitting at the bottom of the dam. But I interpreted that as it could be Lyndon sitting at the bottom of the dam the day before, for example. Maybe he was pondering, what do I say to Katie when I confront her?
Right.
Because it did seem like the dam was a very specific location. He said, we can go there to have this conversation. So I would assume he's scoped it out before. But it's possible to interpret it as there is a reality where he survived. But like you, we see him fall over and over and over until there are no Lyndons left at the top of that dam. So,
yeah, true. Yeah, I love this comment here. Stuart being a psychologist, but he wouldn't be able to talk. I mean, I would just claim to be crazy just to have a conversation with that guy. Such a great, as we talked about, just maybe having like an alarm or some type of thing where you could just have him giving you quotes every day to motivate you. Maybe Katie can resurrect Lyndon. What do you guys think about that?
Well, we saw Lyndon for a moment in the new simulation that Lily is living in, but it's probably not the Lyndon that we know, or at least this Lyndon doesn't have the memories of the Lyndon that we knew. I don't think it's at the top of Katie's to-do list, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think one of the first things she had to do was get, someone had mentioned, and I didn't even put two and two together, when the capsule broke, how did people come in and out of devs from there on out?
Oh, yeah.
They had the little, someone had mentioned the Magneto kind of plastic kind of bridge they had built. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what if Katie's the successor of Forrest, and she's going to be running the company from here on out. Yeah, we talked about these big scenes here. There's no need.
I'm gonna hop off and hop back in because I just gotta reconnect my headphones real quick.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Take your time. Okay. No need to kill off Lyndon. Lyndon's death will not affect the current feud. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Let's see here. A lot of the Katie only did this because of herself. Yeah, that's true. Because she herself. I wonder, in some way does Katie see where Forrest is now? I wonder, what is that like for Katie, the simulated version of Katie? What is she doing in that world, since her and Forrest aren't really together and he's not creating the devs project? I wonder what that particular Katie's up to. I don't know.
Yeah, we know that she likes arguing with her professor. We know she's very smart, but she might still have a job at Amaya, but maybe a less sinister one.
Yeah. Let's see here. I wouldn't say Katie is evil. I feel like she's intelligent and a bit dumb at times. Yeah, a little bit of both. I wouldn't say dumb. I didn't find any of these characters to be dumb. I found them to be really intelligent. But yeah, they show Lyndon falling over and over scenario and not falling. Yeah, I got a lot of great comments, guys. Let me see here. A lot of people love the show, as they're kind of mentioning comments here. I don't want to miss any. Let me go back here. So I guess, we can kind of wrap this up maybe in about 10 to 15 minutes, guys. But again, I know you guys had mentioned not too long ago. And also, I want to thank your brother, Adam, for putting in a super chat. We really appreciate it, Adam. Thank you, man. We'll have to get you on too. Maybe get the whole OneTake team on here one day and have some conversation.
Yeah. Next time I'll have my brother sitting next to me, and my other brother's a little bit more camera shy. Gotcha. Give him a mic off camera.
Gotcha. But yeah, we just kind of, again, guys, PURP, man, just kind of, again, what did the devs mean to you? Was it a fun experience for you the last 8 weeks? What would you like to see Alex Garland tackle next?
Yeah, I thought it was a dope experience. Like I said, I feel like we're starting to see different types of stories being told as far as on television. Like, you got QB, that new streaming service that's short formed content on there. I would like to see him actually do a QB show. That would be pretty fascinating.
How is that service so far? Is it some good shows? I know you have reviewed Survive, I think, is one of the shows you reviewed recently.
Yeah, they got Survive. They have a ton of content on there. They always add stuff every week, and you get episodes Monday through Friday and whatnot. But but yeah, it's a pretty interesting platform. You know, I think it has potential if more people give it a shot. They give you a 90-day trial, so it's worth checking out for 90 days.
Gotcha.
But going back to the whole Alex Garland thing, I would, like I said, I would like to see him do horror. I'm a huge horror fan as well. Like I need more. I need my horror fix in my life. I think out of everything that gets put out, like television wise, year to year, I feel like there's not that much horror shows. You know, you got America Horror Story, um, the Haunting of Hill House.
Mm-hmm.
You got like the list goes on, but like I want more horror shows, like really good horror shows.
I agree.
Like really good horror shows. But like that's the I would like to see him do like a sci-fi horror show or something like that.
Right.
To dive
And
into.
we mentioned it, Annihilation does kind of give you hints of horrific moments. So, you know, obviously that bear scene was terrifying within itself, but I would love to see him take not necessarily more traditional horror tropes, a slasher, a demonic entity, but just something where just these conversations alone, death is a big fear of a lot of people. So, I mean, just him diving into something deeper with science and death, as we kind of talked about with this show and Devs, but I would love to see him do that. But Gil, in regards to final thoughts on the show, we talked a lot about the ending. I just left this up here talking about Alex Garland. We talked about the ending and our how we took the ending, but what would you like to see him tackle next? And just your final kind of thoughts on Devs.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on what I want to see next, because one side of me says I want to see him stick to sci-fi. I love sci-fi. I think that's something I always want to see more of, and he's so good at it. I'm also a big horror fan, so if we got a sci-fi horror from Alex Garland on television, that would be fantastic. The other side of me says that I love when a filmmaker steps outside of his comfort zone and we see something a little bit different. And I know, I think he said that his next series, he plans for it to be non-sci-fi. So I'm interested to see that. I'm interested to see him do something different and what that looks like. But selfishly, I would love to see him stick with sci-fi and do more of that.
I agree. I second that. As we had mentioned, I would love to see him dive deeper into a more of a horror realm with his sensibilities in directing and writing. But yeah, as far as this Devs, again, I was very happy with episodes 1 through 8 and the characters and the story that was being told. And again, I would love to see him do another TV show. Obviously, something on the big screen. Someone had mentioned a little bit earlier about I was talking about Christopher Nolan, but yeah, I don't think that makes sense. They said that they don't see Christopher Nolan doing TV because he's a movie guy. He said many times about he's not a big fan of streaming and stuff like that. He's kind of not as vocal about it as Martin Scorsese, but I know Christopher Nolan loves the big screen, and I'm looking forward to Tenet. But no, I think, and I'm just kind of going through some more of the comments here just to see if there's any other questions you guys might want to answer. I don't think you probably have a bad ending to the Sim 2. So I guess what we'll do here, if I don't see anything else, guys, if you want to just starting with PURP, man, if you want to, again, tell everyone about your channel, where they can find you, what are you going to be watching next? And I guess I guess a little spin on this is, what is the first thing you're going to do when COVID-19 is over? What are you going to do first, man? So go ahead and just let people know where they can find you, what you do on your channel, and all that fun stuff, man.
I mean, with just to touch on the Corona thing, hopefully just be able to go to a beach or something like that, because I don't normally go out. But now this is like forcing me wanting to go out, but like I don't like going out because I gotta wear a mask everywhere I go now. Like, it's annoying. But anyways, you can find me on PURP Minded on YouTube. I talk about a range of different things. I can't even really put it into a box. I got music reviews, movie reviews. I'm kind of slacking on movie reviews because like the Corona just kind of kill everything. So. Also, I talk a lot of TV shows as of late. I do my own little live stream. I got the PURP Show 420 stream coming up this Monday at 11 p.m. Eastern. The next show I'll probably be talking about is The Midnight Gospel on Netflix. That's pretty much the creators of Adventure Time. They're making a special series on that comes out on 420. So I'm definitely looking forward to that because I love Adventure Time. I think that's a funny show. And I always thought they should do some type of Adult Swim type of kind of show. Other than that, I'll probably watch some more QB shows and give you my first impressions, and I'll have a first impressions on the platform itself, and then I'll have a follow-up video when I get done my 90 days to see if things changed or if it feels the same. Um, some shows came to an end. I think Survive is done, and when the street lights go on, those kind of wrapped up. I'm really liking the format, especially I'll tell you right now, the best probably show on there right now is The Most Dangerous Game with Liam Hemsworth and Christoph Waltz. Christoph Waltz plays a great villain. Like he's like your quintessential villain, but I appreciate you reaching out to me. And shouts to PB, because that's one of my homies right here.
Yeah, I had to put that comment up here. And of course, we got to thank Gil's brother Adam for being in the chat throughout the entire time. You guys brought your crew, your community on his channel, and I appreciate it. Everyone that came in tonight. But yeah, Gil, in regards to telling the people a little bit about you guys' channel more, what's next for you guys at OneTake, and I guess just up top, what's the first thing you and your brothers are going to do when everything lifts and gets back to some type of normalcy?
Right. Well, first thing, Movie Files, thanks for having me on. Perp Minded, great having a conversation with you. This was a ton of fun, so I'd love to do this again sometime. And in terms of what I'll do right after lockdown hopefully ends soon, my family's not big on hugging, so I'd like to hug another human being, once I leave my house. And over on OneTake, we do TV reviews, movie reviews. Something big we've got coming up is this Monday, Better Call Saul has its season finale, and we're going to do a big watch party. So starting at 6 o'clock Eastern time, 3 hours before the episode airs, we're going to do props, costumes, giveaways, just a bunch of fun stuff to celebrate the show. Then we're going to watch the episode, come back on afterwards to do our immediate reactions to having seen it. And in terms of what we'll cover next, Devs is ending, Westworld is ending soon, Better Call Saul is ending soon. So we're going to try a few different shows out. I know Penny Dreadful, City of Angels is coming on in a few weeks. It's a spinoff of the original series, but from what I understand, it's pretty self-contained. So we're going to give that a shot. And if we like it, then we'll stick with reviewing that. But otherwise, we're going to try some other formats, maybe some documentary style things, the science of devs, looking at some other stuff. So one other thing I want to say is I see Scully Wang in the chat is asking for recommendations. And I'll just say, if you enjoy the themes of devs and you like thinking about this sort of stuff, check out Isaac Asimov's End of Eternity. It's a book, and it's one of the few books I've gotten so hooked on. I've read that whole book in about 8 hours in one sitting. So the first book I've ever binge watched. So I'd recommend that. And I think with that, I'll just say again, thanks for having me on. Hopefully we can get you on OneTake sometime, get you talking to my brothers too that do this with me. And Perp Minded, great talking to you, and glad to meet another anime fan, especially one who loves Attack on Titan.
I wanted to plug one more thing too, because it goes into the whole anime thing. So me and a group of YouTubers that I frequently stream with and stuff, we launched our own channel called The Prophets of Geek Culture. That pretty much covers anything from gaming, comic books, and just movies, television. I cover the anime, and me and another fellow YouTuber of mine, General Zod, we pretty much came up with this idea called Watch More Anime. And I kind of just wanted to kind of reboot it, and I call it Watch More Anime Revive. So, that's where I'm going to be talking about mostly my anime stuff and whatnot. And we need more people to watch more anime. That's essentially
definitely.
And I'm one of them, guys. I'm one of them. I got to catch up on my anime. And I used to be a big anime fan growing up as a kid, but I kind of just haven't, got back into it. But I definitely, from you guys' recommendation and how highly you speak on where anime has kind of went to in the last decade or so, and more thought-provoking shows is definitely something I'm going to dive into more. I think the last time I watched something, it wasn't even anime. It was just kind of a compilation of anime live action. I don't know if you guys watch Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix last year with Tim Miller and David Fincher got together and made like a bunch of creators came in. And I really love that. I'm really excited for season 2. But again, guys, and just a couple more before I kind of head off here. Recommendations. Everyone thanking us for the chat again. I wanted to take a moment here. Take a moment to thank you guys for coming on the show and having this deep dive and taking the time out to talk about Devs, a show that we all seem to kind of love and appreciate, and excited to see the next story by Alex Garland and everything like that. But I want to thank you guys again for taking the time, and coming on my show. And I would love to have you guys back on the show, and I would love to collaborate with you guys on your content in the future. And that's really what it's about. Even when the thing lifts as far as COVID-19, I still want to collaborate and reach out to you guys and get your perspectives on shows and movies. So this has been awesome. Thank you guys tremendously. Everyone in the chat, from everyone that came over from OneTake, from PURP's community, and everyone that's on here, everyone that gave everyone gave amazing comments and pitched in on the conversation, and everyone that gave a super chat. I mean, just huge thank you again, guys. Give these two gentlemen a follow them on all their social media accounts, subscribe to their channels. Again, that's in the description below. And again, here at Movie Files, we talk movies, we talk shows, we do the trailer reactions, all that fun stuff. But in the future, I want to do more and more of these collaborations with awesome people like we had on tonight. So again, guys, I don't think there's any other comments. A lot of people are saying, the thank yous and, where they can find you guys at. Again, their content is in the description below. So you can follow them at PURP Minded YouTube channel and OneTake, Gil at OneTake. So definitely subscribe to them. Final thoughts, guys, before we head out.
This was a ton of fun. Yeah, good stream. I loved Devs. It's a great show to talk about. I've spent now probably about 7 hours this weekend between my channel, your channel, talking about it, and I feel like we're not done talking about it. So thanks for arranging this whole thing. It was a good time.
Anytime, guys. Anytime. So with that, did you have anything before we head out, man?
Nah, man, this was excellent, man. I always like to speak about things that I'm interested in, because starting this channel, I'm very introverted, so like just to talk about things, and the more I talk about things and more videos I make, it makes it easier to have a conversation. And I just appreciate all the people, because it's crazy. This has been a crazy month for me. Like I've been on a stream with now Jody's Corner, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, and Robert Storm. So it's like, damn, who would have thought? But it's pretty crazy. But I appreciate you reaching out, and this was a dope experience. I would love to have you on the channel, on my channel as well, one of these days. I just gotta figure things out.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, this was dope.
Awesome. Well, guys, again, I'll be reaching out to you guys really soon, and we'll find something else to talk about, whether we can talk about a movie, talk about a show once movies get back in theaters, find something to kind of collaborate, because I had a fantastic time with you guys tonight. So with that being said, you guys keep an eye out for some content I have on my channel coming pretty soon. More reviews, more of these watch alongs. Next week, I have a pretty big watch along plan with a bunch of guests that I plan to have on for Saturday and Sunday. And we'll be talking about that here in a couple days. But again, guys, support OneTake, support PURP Minded, give them a subscribe, comment on their videos, like, share, all that fun stuff. And again, guys, I thank you for joining my show, and we'll call it a night.